Sonic.exe games, there are actually a lot of them, and I've gone over a few of them on my channel as time has gone on. This video is for all the people who like to play my videos on the background or watch it while they're like studying, or sometimes even if they're sleeping. Now, I do yell in some of these, so I don't advise that last one, but hey, if you want to do a sleeping challenge where you try to sleep through one of my videos, well, I mean, good luck. Sometimes some of them you might be able to get through, but these ones in particular, I make some jokes that might actually, be a little louder. So keep that in mind. In this video, I've compiled a list of games that I've enjoyed recording for, dating back for some older ones to ones that you may not have seen, or just kind of stuff like that. I did a poll asking you guys if you wanted it, and you guys said yes. Here's like a couple of hours of games and videos that I've already done. If you want to watch these individually and you're like, oh, I want to watch it within this video for whatever reason, I will have them linked down in the description below. And oh, and also, happy Spooky Month. It is currently Spooky Month, October 1st. We're getting into it. We're starting off strong with a 3-hour marathon. I have a lot of stuff planned this particular month. All right, I'll quit yapping and we'll get into the first game, and I feel is a strong start because I actually love this game, Sonic Saves Robloxia. For some reason, Sonic and horror go really well together. I mean, this has been proven before. Something like Childhood is Past is a good example of this. What if there was a game on Roblox that takes the identity of an innocent Sonic game and hides a much darker narrative? Sonic Saves Robloxia aims to do just that. While this game may seem like a fun, cute Sonic adventure on the surface, it's hiding something much darker below. But we'll get into that. In this video, we're going to break this game down and look into the hidden story of Sonic Saves Robloxia. Keep in mind, this is only a demo, so more stuff is going to be released in the future, and some things may be subject to change. For being a demo, this game actually has a pretty unique concept with some pretty impressive feats considering it was made in Roblox. Not that you can't make good games in Roblox, there definitely have been a few of them, but this one goes above and beyond in my opinion. It also has a considerable amount of content, assuming you play through everything. There's about 2.5 hours worth, but some of that could be attributed to the labyrinth. It all depends on who's playing. Without further ado, let's get into Sonic Saves Robloxia. Upon loading into the game, we are immediately met with a pretty concerning warning, reading as follows. This game contains disturbing content, flashing imagery, and loud sounds. It also contains other mature content such as gore, violence, and blood. Viewer discretion is advised. This game only tricks you until you try to load in, which I'm sure a lot of people ignored and played it anyway. Though most people who find this game likely know what to expect, and the entity knows you know that too. But here's the fun thing about this game. You don't actually have to play the horror part of it. And I think that's why this game works so well. You could play the normal Sonic adventure and only have a few encounters with the entity that talks to you at the beginning. And don't get me wrong, the horror is where this game shines through. But the normal adventure gave me serious nostalgia. I mean, I would have loved to play this game as a kid. Oh, and speaking of some people's childhood, we spawn in as a guest avatar. For those who don't know, in olden Roblox days, you were able to sign in as a guest, but couldn't customize your avatar, and this is what you got. The starting room has pixel art of Sonic characters you know, and a few couches placed about. While it may not seem like much to the newer generation, they completely nailed the Roblox style. Every detail is carefully placed to make you feel like you're playing old Roblox. Before loading into the game, we're met with the message reading as follows.
Do my senses deceive me? They do not. A soul floats adrift from me, a lost one at that. If you are to find your way, you have to forfeit the beaten path you are roaming in. The world hides more than it shows. Remember that.
Now, I believe this message actually changes depending on how many times you play the game, but after your first playthrough, it gives you your first hint. Though, in order to start his adventure, you first have to jump through the ring in front of you. The base world story is about as generic as it gets. Eggman has failed at taking over the planet, but gets the idea to take over Robloxia. Aside from being a horror game, this adventure actually has a lot of charm. There's a few moments where I actually chuckled. We're met with Sonic, who says his friends have been trapped by Eggman, and he's asking for your help to save them. This area is going to be important later, but for now, we need to continue forward and save Sonic's friends. We have to get to the top of the tower to save Tails. There's the scariest thing you'll see in this game all around. A ball with PNGs of Moto bugs on them. Pushing them around, it makes the Roblox dying sound but sped up, which is kind of funny. We reach the top and save Tails from boredom, I think. There's nothing up here, Tails. I'm not sure why you were so worried. Tails flies us up to go find Knuckles, who's in jail. Okay, it's more like he's in a dungeon, but I thought it's funnier to say that Knuckles went to prison. Let me know what you think Knuckles would go to jail for down in the comments. Shit. Sonic says we gotta blow up the entrance, but doesn't exactly move when everything goes off and he dies. Rest in pieces, Sonic. You may have been fast, but my heart will be slow to recover. Oh, wait, never mind. He's alive. He tells us to go on ahead to find Knuckles. And here is Eggman kind of just standing there. If you look in the cages, there are a few references to Sonic characters. I mean, there's even Fang the Sniper and Cream. As you get closer, sorry, that was probably the biggest jump scare in this game. Knuckles breaks out and we have to catch up with Eggman. But if it's anything like the OG Sonic games, yeah, we're not catching this guy. Lucky for us, Eggman couldn't fit into the computer screen and we're able to put an end to his villainy once and for all. A cute little sequence plays out with Sonic and friends beating Eggman up. I like that all the models here are actually pretty expressive and honestly don't look too bad. After everyone is done beating up Eggman, we go back to Green Hill to celebrate. Not before Eggman's mom yells at him. We reach the end of the level and Sonic and friends are standing there. Running into him takes us back to the beginning. And our first hint is revealed.
Congratulations, you've beaten the game. But this isn't what you came here for, is it? I'll give you a hint. Recall to when you both first met. Beyond the boundaries, a secret is kept. One corner hides the vein between worlds. Pass it, and soon his game unfurls. Good luck.
And now, it's time to delve into the true nature of this game. To uncover the mystery left by the one who is guiding us. Remember that room where we first met Sonic? There's a crack you have to go through, and once you do, the first puzzle of this game begins. This game uses a lot of rhyming schemes and riddles for its puzzles, so be ready for that. Finding this place is actually very subtle and could be easy to miss, but once you do, everything changes.
When I arrived, you gazed at my grace. Now you turn away, hiding your face.
Moving the totems away from the middle totem prompts where you go next.
In the sinister tower hides the devil's eyes.
After going through a bit of the level and finding the tower, we climb up it. And surely enough, a pair of eyes are waiting for us. Clicking on it takes us to our next puzzle. I won't tell you how to solve this puzzle, but each orb represents something and it's up to you to decide which one fits best. Body, heart, soul, mind. One I want to point out, however, is how it involves soul. The one that fits the description of it, awaiting the moment it can be set free to display its glory which none can see. In the beginning, it points out how your soul is lost but has great potential. And there's going to be emphasis on that. Upon solving this puzzle, the world is empty. Sonic isn't there anymore, and there's an image that tells you where to find a switch. What used to be Knuckles' room is now empty. This leads you to what may be one of the most annoying puzzles I've ever done, but honestly, it really makes you think, and it's not that bad. It did, however, take me a little too long, but I eventually figured it out, so you guys can clap. I know, thank you. Though, to be honest, I wish I wouldn't have. There's an uncomfortable sound that repeats, making you feel incredibly unnerved. Everything is shrouded in a white mist, blocking most of your vision. This once colorful place is now gone. It's the same place you know, but something is clearly wrong. I can't fully describe just how unnerving this is. Navigating your way through, we go back to Green Hill, but something is very wrong here. And what plays out is potentially one of the most unnerving experiences in a Sonic horror game. I'm just kidding, guys. I wouldn't leave you.
I got you!
Please don't unsubscribe. I'm just a little guy. You're walking in sheer light for so long. and when you reach the end, nothing is there to greet you. The whole time you're expecting something to happen. The sound effects, you not being able to see anything in front of you. But when you make it to the end, it's nothing. You know once you turn around, something will get you. The tension buildup is genius here, and is one of the reasons I love this game. It is for such an uncomfortable amount of time, and the way that the ambience is handled. Unfortunately though, you do still get a jump scare. After having a heart attack, you're taken to a desolate world full of people walking around aimlessly. The text above them varies, some asking to be killed and others saying, "I'm scared." What's more bizarre is that they kind of look like us. Keep in mind, this is a single player experience. So after some parkour that I flawlessly do, by the way, we find a floating square in the shape of tails. Upon looking into it, the game changes into something a little more modern. The graphics improve, and the old Roblox vibe is gone. We now have no shape and take the form of these floating orbs. Upon going deeper into the cave, we find what appears to be tails. But for fans of the Allfather, you can guess who this is. The lore of this character could have changed, but this is the entity's very first victim, Alex. He tears his arm off trying to escape, matching what becomes of Alex in the lore. After possessing Alex, we hear a voice telling us we have great potential and to follow the path that has opened for us. This takes us into what this entity calls Eden. To him, it's a wonderful place. To us, it's cruel. We fall down into a pit, and as you do this, faces fill the screen. He says that if you stay for too long, this place will drive you mad. But the bridge to go across was broke. He knew you would have to cross down here. Upon climbing your way out of mental torment, the voice congratulates you, telling you the next step to take. You must climb the mountain and drop down a hole. This is where a lot of criticism for the game first took place, as this maze portion was honestly pretty annoying. The monster could camp you out or spot you from like a mile away or just not notice you at all. In this maze, there are 3 totems you must collect. However, before the patch, it was 6. Thank God I played the version with only 3 because in my first playthrough, it took me around an hour to get through the maze. The entity says that its power is weak down here, but if you complete your task, you've earned your freedom. The monster we were talking about earlier, well, it's terrifying. Not only is it incredibly fast, but its head turns to follow you even when you're hiding. It's advised that you don't run and you don't have your light on, as it's easier for the creature to detect you. The instructions are on these cute pictures of tails, and they're all placed by a body of tails. Okay, not as cute. Since the last time I played, this particular part was updated. I noticed that there was an X on the map now, marking where you have to go. I also noticed the loudest bang I've ever heard entering the maze. And it was terrifying. In this part, you'll need to listen for the monster, which we later find out is named Obelisk, and watch the torches. If they go out, the monster is nearby. You can also hear what direction it's coming in. This thing is loud. It makes incredibly weird noises as it searches for you. The stomping of when he comes after you is truly terrifying. And you just have to hope that you're right beside a hiding spot because he will get you in a matter of seconds. The atmosphere is completely dark, and if you're like me, you're crouching and keeping the lights off the whole time. In a few areas, there are little notes laying around. One I found spoke of how their master's guidance, they were able to arrive undetected to their new home, which I'm presuming is Eden, but I'm not sure. Or it was the very cave that we're in. It also stated that they were always with him, as he is always with them. As you're exploring, you'll find Tails' bodies laying around, multiple of them, indicating that you're not the first one to be here. If you explore enough, you'll find details strung up on a cross. But what's also interesting about this is it has the old Sonic.EXE theme playing, which I thought was a pretty cool callback to the original. There's also a lot of themes of religion and the entity being worshipped as a god. We find another paper that mentions that some idiots didn't properly conserve supplies, rations were spoiled, and once they found out who did this, they were going to punish them. No failure, big or small, is allowed by the eyes of their master. Following this, there's the symbols that stay consistent. Eyes that are always watching etched onto the paper. After finding all the totems and collecting them, my second playthrough, I spent 2 hours in the maze alone, so please subscribe. We're taken to a gray field. Looming over the world is what we know as the All-Father. There are totems placed about with mouths and eyes, and waiting for us is an entity known as Raikon. I'm sorry if I said his name wrong. He's the guardian of souls. He tells us to appreciate things while we still can, because something is coming. He states we can't avoid it for long. No matter if we resist, fate has our name written in the waters. After this encounter, it fades to black, leading us to the credits. In terms of gameplay, this game was amazing. It was scary like the whole way through. I mean, obviously except for the beginning. And while I still hate the maze level due to how spread out the damn totems are, I can appreciate just how terrifying and curious of an experience this was. But what exactly is going on in the story? Well, after beating the hidden story, we get access to extras. It's here we can read just who everyone is, and I'm going to try my best to connect the dots. Now to get into the lore aspect of it all. First, we have the All-Father, creator of Eden. His lore from the past is still the same. The more you spread his name, the more power he gains. He feeds off of the beliefs of people. In the old lore for the All-Father, this was the father to all EXEs. He was the first, but Jack Gore walked this back. His origins are no longer known, and he is now given 2 names. The All-Father and the Forgotten. Him gaining power by you spreading his name around, or rather believing him, is still the same. He still gets power that way, but it's just through different means. This means that this could entirely change the narrative that we know. This is the direction the All-Father is taking now. I made a whole video on this guy if you want to learn about him. However, I do think that this iteration is different. His old name was the Forgotten, but cult members have given him the name All-Father. It could be that, in the maze we were in, the cultists left pages behind, and perhaps the dead tales could be those same cult members, or could be former players. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Next, we have the player, who is essential to the story. It's said to be an unpredictable force. They are the many things that cause chaos within Eden. But what is Eden? Eden is likely a way for All-Father to reward those who have followed in his path, though knowing him, it's probably demented. But they could be brainwashed into believing in him, while those who fail him become the Wanderers. But we'll get to them in a second. Why is the player integral to the story? Their extracted essence is the most dangerous, as it shows capabilities of possession and control over a vessel that is already inhabited by another soul. This game emphasizes time and time again that the All-Father takes interest in you, that your soul, the player soul, has great potential. I also believe that this whole time, the All-Father has been testing you. After taking possession, you're tasked to go to Eden, and after being mentally tormented, you have to quote-unquote earn your freedom, and only then do you talk to the guardian of the soul. But what happens when you fail? Wanderers are the husk of former players, wandering the white void with no sense of purpose or direction. They are players who failed the All-Father and are cursed to stay in the realm between realms forever. So, should we fail, we'll turn into a wanderer. While in the Tales in the Labyrinth could be cult members, I believe they were actually other players who died and failed the All-Father, or perhaps they were both. Though I do find it interesting that they tried to integrate the player into the story, as in games, you usually take possession of this character and it plays within this world. But now, the player has something that takes over another thing's body. Can tell that this might get a little confusing. Though Alex could be an example of this. Alex in his original lore was him being a coward, often sacrificing others in order for him to survive. However, when we find him, we take his body and he's suddenly more brave, better suited to serve the Allfather. Alex now was somebody else. We were Alex. We are the new vessel. And before we found him, he was said to be a traitor. I'm presuming he was a traitor of the cult. Now, I'm making some pretty big jumps, so maybe that's wrong, but it might be an idea, because I believe the followers of Allfather would do something like this to a traitor. I find it convenient that this specific vessel was laying here, carefully placed right for your soul to take control of your body. I believe this was the Allfather's first test. And in case you were curious about Obelisk, the creature in the stronghold, he was originally a clone of the Allfather, a protector of the totems. It said the connection with the Allfather was severed due to unknown causes, leading it to be trapped inside of where it's at. It's clear the Allfather used you, the player, to put the totems back together. Why he wanted this is not yet known, but will likely be explained later. The general idea is, this story mostly revolves around us. I speculate things from the original story will stay, like they have now, but are going in a separate direction. Whether this Roblox game was created to spread around and give him more power, or if the story is strictly in-game and isn't meta, is unknown. What we know is that the player plays a vital role in this story, and will continue to affect the Allfather's Eden. You, the player, will have the biggest impact on what happens. But hey, that's just a theory. Wait a minute. As for lore, that's all I was able to piece together so far. Well, I guess there is one more thing that's really important to the story. Choo Choo. All hail Choo Choo! Who even is this guy? So I wanted to do a bit of like after commentary. You guys will notice that near the end of the video, there's like an auditory glitch that I kept in. I was just like, when I said Choo Choo and it sounded really weird, I wanted to keep that in. But yeah, Sonic.EXE Robloxia is honestly like a really good game. I had a fun time looking into it and looking into the lore. I'm really hoping this wasn't just like, oh, we send out the demo and like that's just gonna be that and we're just never gonna hear from this game again, because like this was like stepping into uncharted territory. There wasn't a game that reached mainstream. Well, not necessarily mainstream, but like a thing that's like in the community. This isn't scripted, by the way. I'm totally yapping here. So this was like a game that was like, you know, was fully 3D. It had an interesting story. It was simple at some points, but like as you went on, you know, you're like trying to piece it together. There's like, and there was just some stuff that I missed too. These were all different players possessing a Tails vessel that were in a cult. Following Allfather. Sonic.EXE Robloxia, really awesome game. This next game though, I'm gonna take a step away from Roblox. This will not be the last Roblox game on the list that I have. We're gonna go ahead and we're going to take a look at Sonic.EXE Spirits of Hell. I have an upcoming video of Whisper of Soul that I'm working on right now. So you guys can rejoice. It's a lot of work, but I'm willing to put it in. And I figured that Spirits of Hell would be a good video to fit in here in this kind of like massive marathon. So without further ado, get ready to hear me rage for all the people who are trying to sleep to this. I am so sorry for this. I definitely raised my voice in this one. In my experience, Sonic.EXE games can fall under 3 categories. Not much gameplay and all visuals like back in the olden days, Friday Night Funkin', and way too difficult. The game we're going to be talking about falls under the last category, that game being Sonic.EXE Spirits of Hell. By popular demand of the people, I'm going to finally talk about it. And I'm convinced my own audience hates me because what is this? Now, before I start bashing on this game, I will say that I don't think the game is overall bad. There's a lot of good to come from this game, like custom sprites I think look amazing, great animation, unique concepts, and most importantly, actual gameplay. At the time this game released, Sonic.exe games were trying to figure out what they wanted to be, and while the gameplay made me want to summon my persona like they did in Persona 3, if you know you know, I really like the attempt here and what it's done for the community. This game has multiple endings, each depending on what you do and, well, what you can do. That's right, you actually get to save them and it be the canonical outcome of what happens should you get the right ending. In this video, we're going to be talking about each of the endings you can get in this game, the gameplay, and I'm going to be complaining a lot. Get ready as we talk about the game that still gives me nightmares, and not for the reason you think. So, where exactly does this hell begin? We first see the title screen that features a toggle that has voice acting, which I thought at first was pretty interesting, and you know it's gonna be good. Hitting start game gives us a menu that allows us to choose how many lives we want. If you're like me, the first question you had was, does the difficulty affect the ending? Thankfully, no. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making this video. We start off as Sonic this time around and not Tails. You can collect a few additional extra lives in this area if you look around, but you don't play as Sonic for long. His sprites here do look amazing, and that's a theme I think carries throughout the whole game. I'm not sure if these are custom or not, as I think I've seen them before, but I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, it blends in with the world pretty well, and it's visually appealing. Continuing forward, we get a call from Tails, which is something I want to point out. The voice acting isn't horrible. I do think there are some moments that make me laugh, but I think the voices suit the characters well enough. The fact that this game even has voice acting shows us that this was a true passion project. And you know what? I never liked the overly demonic voices for the spooky hedgehog, so this Sonic.exe sounds a little silly, but in my opinion, is a little easier to understand vocally without a lot of the effects. Though he does get pretty quiet at times. I don't know if that was like a volume thing for me, but there are cutscenes that play along with the voice acting, which for the time was pretty cool to see. The first one basically shows that Sonic got possessed by something, and Tails wants to go check on him, thusly taking us to the classic Sonic.exe screen where we see our lineup of victims we can play as. As per usual, the other two are locked and Tails is the first one you can pick, but it's here you can also get an explanation of how the game works. And some things to note. Here we see a list of rings that do different things. During this playthrough, each character will be given a choice, and it's up to you to pick the right one, and that lets them live. Choosing wrong kills them instantly unless you have the green ring, stopping that bad decision entirely. The black ring allows for the character's solo ending. So let's say you manage to survive the difficult Tails level, and he's the only survivor left. There's a certain part near the end where the black ring activates and stops you from dying. So instead of Tails getting killed in the most disrespectful way possible, might I add, he doesn't, because the black ring stops that from happening. And you're on your way to the next part. We'll talk about the specifics later, but I want to discuss all the characters' solo endings first and what happens. So that being said, back to Tails. If you're an EXE fan, you'll notice this looks pretty familiar. As we keep walking, we see dead animals show up like in the classic Sonic.exe games, and hey, there's a green ring here. And look, Sonic.exe is poking his head out. Come here, pal. I hate this f***ing game. Reaching the end of the level, Tails approaches Sonic, though something isn't right here. The screen slowly gets covered with static as Tails approaches, but as he reaches him, Sonic just casually turns around, subverting your expectations. It seems he's done something truly terrible. He got into the strawberry jam again and didn't share. You monster. I'll never forgive you. Though it is here we're presented with a choice. Now, people were begging me to go with him and tried to convince me it was the right choice. And if you hate Tails, this is the right choice. But if you are a sane Sonic enjoyer, like I am, you fly away. Though I question what the point of that was, because he just catches up to you anyway. Instead of dying, you get teleported. It's here we're introduced to actual gameplay. Kind of. I'm actually doing a post-recording of this because I actually forgot about this specific part, and I actually hated this. I mean, you really don't do very much aside from jump at the right time when Sonic.EXE is chasing after you. The only problem is that there is an invisible wall here, and if you fall, you lose this character right away. The timing is really weird on this jump. I don't know if this is just a me problem, but it definitely caused me a few problems. But once you make it, for once in a Sonic.exe game, we play actual hide and seek, and it sucks. First off, you can jump while Sonic.exe is talking, and he will kill you. Admittedly, I was trying to skip his dialogue for this cutscene and ended up jumping, which is how I found this out. But still, in this section of the game, there are clones of a seller all throughout the level. Oh yeah, I should probably mention that a seller is the name of the Sonic.exe. I'll have to explain his lore another day, if I get around to it. But just know there's a common misconception. I don't believe a seller is a part of the Nightmare universe, or even a spin-off. I think the creator was friends with the creator of Fijorn, and was inspired from Nightmare Beginnings, which I've covered on my channel if you guys are interested. So I'll be referring to him as a seller for the rest of this video. I'm probably saying that wrong, and I'm making people mad. That's okay. Back to hell. This level is trial and error, and that's kind of the theme for the rest of this game. I also can't help but to feel like luck is involved in some way. There's a button you have to find in order to progress, but the game gives you no indication where that might be, or if there was a button that you have to press at all. And nothing about this level is straightforward. I understand exploring and seeing all of the level design, but when the game has an instant kill mechanic, it really seems unforgiving. The luck portion came in for me as I had developed a strategy. Upon spawning in, I would fly up and fly atop the map until I reached a rocket that would send me near the button. However, in doing so, if I didn't time this right, a seller would be there as soon as I landed and I would just instantly die. No chance of escaping because I'm in free fall, and that's one life gone. You could argue I can mix up my timing, and that's what I did. But even then, I can't see what's ahead of me from a safe distance, so I'm still just guessing. And after all the trial and error that was hide and seek, the next part isn't any better. We're thrown into a chase scene where if you get caught, you have to go through the same process all over again. Personally, I think a checkpoint here would have been nice, but I guess we can't have nice things, even though it does it later in the game, but that's fine. This chase sequence felt unforgiving as well. You have to time your jumps and fly at the exact right time your movements precisely. The dev thought it'd be cute to add springs everywhere to add to the player experience. It's not cute, okay? It's actual torture. I found myself flying too high at times, resulting in instant death, or not flying at the right time and just dying for it. But I will say this, once you get a feel for it and you practice enough times, you will get it. And when you do, it feels great. Congrats, you cleared the level with Tails. Now, Tails is put on pause for a moment after completing this as you try to save the others from their potential demise. So, next up is Knuckles. He got a message from Tails saying that it's urgent and they should meet up, but he decides to take a quick detour at the now very red scrap brain zone. The first portion is, wait a minute, what is that? Okay, certainly I'm seeing something wrong here because this is how many lives I had when I finished the level with Tails, and they wouldn't make you continue off the lives of the previous character, right? They wouldn't do that. They did. And if you die with the previous character, you spawn in with one life as the next character. This game was the reason my parents divorced. To this game's credit, there is a life you can collect as Knuckles at the beginning here, but I mean, come on, man. If this is your first time playing through it, you just lost. I mean, that's it. Knuckles' stage is called It's Just Illusion, and boy, what a lie that is. The pain I'm feeling is very real. There are rings you have to grab in order for these pillars to disappear so you can progress. Now, I'm not entirely sure but I think the ring timers are random. I found myself picking up a red ring, and every once in a while, it just kind of went away right after I had picked it up. Other times, I was hoping it would go away, but it felt like it lasted forever, causing me to die because I couldn't escape the executable file. I found a path that kind of worked best for me, and with enough practice, and maybe a little bit of luck, I was able to make it to the end. But this wouldn't be the last time we see luck used, as it's here we're presented with a choice. We can either pick the red or green button, and this is a complete 50-50. Assuming it's your first time playing through this level, you have no idea where the green ring was, and if you choose wrong here, Knuckles dies instantly, and that is one character down. Now, if the game didn't add the green ring, I'd have to be more harsh on it, but it does encourage you to practice and explore. I do think this is still like a little bit harsh, but it's not completely unfair. If you choose correctly, you get to move on, and that's Knuckles saved. That means there's only one person left, and I hate this fucking section with the burning fucking passion, and can somebody please explain to me why this happens? Sorry, I had to get that out of my system. This section isn't even the hardest Eggman level, but is still a core memory for me now. Let's back it up a little bit. Sonic has broken into the base, and Eggman has to retreat. With him is Metal Sonic and Scratch and Grounder? Wait a minute, he's trying to run away, and Scratch and Grounder are here. He's trying to... Eggman takes a broken jetpack with him. Bit of an odd choice, Egghead, but I get it. Times are dire, and sometimes all you have is a broken jetpack. This does introduce us to his mechanic. By holding X, you can dash forward and run up walls. By holding X and up at the same time, you send yourself straight up. Now, this was a pretty unique idea, and I do really appreciate it. But man, can timing this thing be really weird. Pressing something too late or too early will just send you in a direction, and you can either lose your progress or die for it. This is unfortunate because Robotnik's levels tend to have a lot of urgency to them, and if you're a skill issue, like me, you're going to struggle quite a lot. You'll reach a point where there's a timer that starts to count down after you start moving, and you will likely think you're supposed to go down a hole, but this is just here to mess with you. I didn't realize there was a platform above me I was supposed to go to, and there was no indicator that there was anything above me anyways. And you're on a time limit, so you not realizing this cost you a character. Once the timer hits 0, you don't even die right away, but once you reach the end, .executable file decides he's done watching the peanut gallery and ends you. This isn't one life gone, it's the character gone. Now, from a narrative standpoint, this makes sense. Sonic.EXE has found Robotnik and kills him. It also plays into the idea that Sonic.EXE is ruthless and is rigging the game against you. At least it really feels like that as the player. It still kind of sucks from a gameplay perspective, but I don't think I could make a video on something if I didn't enjoy it at least a little bit. That being said, after making it to the end before the timer hits 0, you're taken to Robotnik's choice. This one is actually pretty obvious. Basically, you have to send either Scratch and Grounder or Metal Sonic to go hold off Exceller. So you keep one with you to protect you. So obviously, you send Metal Sonic to take Exceller out and keep Scratch and Grounder as a backup because these guys can't. Just kidding. These guys are so incompetent. I think I'd rather take Orbot and Cubot. The right choice is to pick... And he... all over the place while Eggman escapes. Eggman doesn't get very far before Mr. I'm Not Like Other EXEs catches up and destroys the elevator, sending us down into madness. Now, any normal human would crack from this fall, but I'm gonna assume Eggman used his jetpack at a good time to land safely. Though I wish he wouldn't have, because at least then, I wouldn't have to play this section of the game. Every complaint before this point may have been a skill issue, but this level design combined with Eggman's jetpack, I'm about to disturb the peace because what the fuck is this? Down at the bottom left, there's a difficulty rating, which doesn't actually mean anything until you reach a certain part of the level. Don't let this fool you. You still have to time your jumps, memorize the layout, and as you progress, easy turns to medium, and when that happens, an instant death wall begins to slowly make its way towards you as to try and figure out where the fuck to go and not mistime your jumps, while also looking out for spikes and managing your shield time. I feel like I should mention this, and it's probably gonna upset some people here, but I have to do it. I have to. I used the level select screen, and I used it a lot. My game crashed at certain moments or would bug out, and I'll be damned if I do Knuckles and Tails portion again. And there isn't checkpoints or saves, so you would just have to start at the beginning. Admittedly, this saved me so much time, and without it, I wouldn't get this video out until next month. So just know that I jumped around a lot to get footage in every ending for this game, especially for the next part of Eggman's level. I will say, this section starts you off with the first checkpoint in this game, and that was nice. But this part is so unforgiving, I almost cried like a little baby, knowing I'd spend the rest of my life trying to beat it. Accelerator chases you through the level while platforms fall behind you. You cannot mistime your jumps, you have to time your shield. It moves so fast, the jumps you have to make and the guesses that you have to take is just insane. If you're persistent enough and crazy, you will get through it. And that's the first section of the game complete. Depending on who's alive, they will find themselves at the Master Emerald. Each character has a level made for their abilities, and get this, there is no harm here. And you know what? The platforming was pretty fun. I'm gonna go over all the solo endings first, then the duo endings, then the true ending. So let's start with Tails. Tails, for some reason, has the most amount of content. And before you celebrate that, that means he gets additional suffering. Poor Tails. The level each survivor starts at is Hidden Palace Zone, and Tails' level involves him bouncing around. Look at me go! Whee! Now, I got a bit of PTSD and was waiting for a death wall to spawn before reaching the Master Emerald, but much to my surprise, it never happened. The Master Emerald takes Tails back to the tornado, and it's here the black ring comes into effect. If you don't have the black ring, yeah. If you do, we're taken to the next part. Whoa, this game looks really different now. Okay, I know that's an obvious joke, but I love Silent Hill 2 and wanted to fit that in, so. Now, the first part of this level is pretty easy. Nothing too bad happens. Oh, wait, never mind. Tails is gone now? That's right, I somehow bugged the game and made Tails go invisible. Not sure how that happened, but I thought it was pretty silly. After you hit this little dash pad, things really pick up. You have this ring here that represents your lives. You're gonna get hit 5 times before you run out, but you could treat it as a one-hit KO because this guy doesn't let you breathe. How do you even see me? I'm invisible. Oh yeah, I should probably mention this here. These game over screens are pretty cool. If you're trying to get a solo ending and you don't want to skip around, just let this timer hit 0 and you can move on to the next character. I don't see these used too often, and it was actually pretty refreshing to see. So I just thought that was something unique. Back to complaining. You have to map out this area perfectly, and a single mistake can cost you a life. Jump into a red ring, and you're teleported to another place with, oh, hi other evil Tails. So I think this is the part where the game references the game's inspiration, and one that I've covered in the past, as mentioned before. If you're interested in learning more about this guy, you could watch that video on Nightmare Beginnings. Basically, exe here is checking up on the progress of Accelerator. Now, this is a crossover, but I don't think that this is canon in some way, and was just kind of like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I will say, it's neat to see the inspiration of this game appear. After a brief interaction, Accelerator confronts Tails directly, and it's time for one last battle. This phase of the boss fight is a little annoying. It's actually not as hard as some of the other levels in this game. At first, it can be overwhelming, but you can get rings so you could survive longer. It also doesn't take very long to learn his attack patterns. After surviving this portion of the boss, this dude takes a page out of Metal Sonic's book and becomes a giant robot. Eggman and Knuckles are here to try to kill you as well. But I found this part to be relatively easy. Just give the guy a few aggressive head pats and you did it. I actually didn't mind this boss fight, and I really like how unique it was. It seemed entirely fair, and you can learn his move patterns along with having rings, so it wasn't just instant death. Very cool game. Upon beating him, you casually cut off his head. Oh my god. But this wasn't the true struggle. The struggle truly begins with the emotional trauma. Yeah, who's gonna tell him that that wasn't actually the real seller and it was just a clone? Yeah, you know what? On second thought, I think he's been through enough. And with that, that's Tails' portion down. I know I've complained a lot. So far, this game is oddly addictive. Most people call this masochism, I call it testing my body's limits. We're also treated to some pretty nice sprite animation, and I still think this holds up to this day. As we say goodbye to these visuals, we say hello to my nightmare. Knuckles is up next for the solo ending route, picking up from his hidden palace zone. Once again, no threat here, and it was kind of fun to explore and look at what the game did. Upon reaching the Master Emerald, we're taken to Hydro City. In Hydro City, we're meant to traverse the waters, and man, does this get difficult. The beginning parts of this level aren't too bad, but when this giant geyser starts to chase you, it gets really annoying to navigate. And I'm really holding back here because my reaction to beating this level is, well. Alright, part 2, here we go. Wait! Yes! We did it! Oh my god, yes! Look, this part took me over 3 hours, and if you played this level, you'd understand. If you made the slightest mistake, you would die. And there would be some points where I'd try to time my iframes to not take damage. There were a few bugs I experienced while playing this level, like getting stuck in a wall and not being able to progress. The up and down movements felt pretty stiff, and you have to know the layout in order to win. To its credit, I do like that there are pathways you could choose from, and to see something unique like this is really cool. But the unfairness just got to me at times. And you could take other routes, but it really felt like there were some routes that were just way easier than others. But that being said, I am glad to say I am done with this level. But the music choice was pretty good. Knuckles looks off in the distance, and we get another really good sprite animation. To this game's credit, I do feel like these levels are somewhat short, but very painful. So not too long of a level, but you have to be able to map it out. It's still gonna take you a lot of time, even if the level itself isn't very long. And Eggman is the perfect example of this. I streamed most of my runs on both Twitch and YouTube, by the way, and had the most crash outs I've ever had playing any game ever. And this bald-headed idiot was mostly the cause for it. We're taking the sky base where, thankfully, you have infinite lives. Now, you may not start out with that, but if you run backwards, you can get a free life, and this spawns back every time you die. So you can try this as many times as needed, and trust me, you will need it. Now, for most people, I don't see this being too difficult. As I have said many times before, I am a huge skill issue, and these jetpack controls were so jank to me. At times, I feel like it wouldn't be fully responsive, or it just wouldn't work. There were also a few bugs along the way, and some of this level design is so unforgiving. I think that might be the word of the day. Falling platforms, a heat-seeking EXE, and my sanity depleting once again after I had just gotten it back. After some persistence and memorizing the layout, I made it to the end. But there's one more part to Eggman's level, and I gotta say, visually, this looks awesome. Here we face off against the seller in one last battle. And it's okay. I didn't find it nearly as hard as his other levels, and I consider this to be the easiest level in the game. Sure, I died a few times, but once you find out you can kind of cheese this level, it's pretty alright. Also, I'm fairly certain this boss fight is scripted, and shooting doesn't really do much here. but I'm not completely sure on that. After beating a seller, we're treated to the same screen as the others, and once again, sprite work is great. I felt pretty good after beating all of the solo endings, knowing that each survivor has overcome the impossible. They rose to face a challenge that seemed hopeless, and that maybe there's a multiverse where each of them survive, and they create— oh wait, never mind. They're killed off screen. Well, I guess we'll just have to move on to the duo endings. Maybe we'll have better luck there. I heard people say these were easier to get than the other endings. And to be honest, it was all difficult to me. There was never that one moment where I was like, oh, this is easier than some of the other ones in terms of endings and not levels. Let's just start with Tails and Knuckles. Their level takes place in Mecha Green Hill Zone. What an obscure level from Sonic the Hedgehog Chaos for the Game Gear. I don't know why I said it like that, but I'm sticking with it. Knuckles brings us here because he wants to get a Chaos Emerald, and it's here we're introduced to the new mechanic. You have to switch between Tails and Knuckles to activate things. This level mostly just introduces you to how the mechanic works, but it does have its problems. There's a weird glitch that happens when you switch mid-air as Tails to Knuckles. You can keep flying as Knuckles as if you were Tails, and it's actually kind of fun, but can be detrimental at times. The next part is where things really kick up, as we're met with the seller hanging out by a tree, you know, being all casual, looking pretty cool. Not really. Basically, he pulls out this stupid red ring that makes you hallucinate. Knuckles dodges it, and Tails takes the hit this time. And this is where the main mechanic is active. Tails is now being chased down, and you have to switch between the two. Knuckles' purpose is to break through walls, and honestly, that's pretty much it. And switching to Tails allows you to see where that pesky hedgehog is. I definitely had some trouble here, as this is absolutely ruthless. It took me finding the perfect precision and speed to juke this guy, but luckily the level is pretty short. It still took me about like 2 hours or more, and it did drive me crazy, but it was kind of cool to see a custom-made stage with unique mechanics. Now, if you die here and you have the black ring, you continue from their solo path. More specifically, Knuckles continues. But if you don't have the black ring, they just kind of die. This is a cool inclusion as it gives you more chances to survive with at least one person. So I gotta give the game that. But what happens when you do survive? Well, Sonic.EXE is about to get our protagonist, but luckily, Sonic is here to fight off a seller. Or, you know, so it seems. You have a choice to save Sonic or leave, and usually I'd pick the other option first. I think we already know what happens when we pick Sonic, and to be quite frank with you, I'm tired. So Sonic, too little too late, pal, but I'm sure you'll pull through. We then cut to Tails and Knuckles reaching the cliffside, with their animated sprites now together. This ending was annoying to get. I might sound like a broken record saying this. Sonic.EXE games, it didn't really do this. And while I've never worked on a game, I can imagine game design isn't easy, especially for one person. I do think that this stuff was intentional and that it was meant to be hard. And maybe Dan the Patient Bear had a sense of humor. I mean, clearly he does. But I still have to give props where the game deserves it. Now, let's move on to Tails and Eggman. The story here is Eggman is trying to get access to a machine, and it's up to Tails to find it. It tells him that he will activate a blue light above a door, and that will lead us to where we need to go. But when we get there, he states he said orange. So either he's gaslighting, or that wasn't really Robotnik. We don't have much time to question it, as the lights are cut out for Tail, and Robotnik's room is filled with gas. Wait a minute, is this what it means to gaslight? It makes sense why the gas filled up the room with Eggman, and it's okay, bad joke. It's here you can make a choice. Either open the ventilation or don't open it. You would think that opening it is the right choice, you know, free out all the air. That's exactly what this game wants you to think. Kind of crazy that you could just die here for picking the logical option. But to be fair, this game does have safeguards to prevent this. If you choose to not open the ventilation, the gameplay for this begins. And it's very similar to Five Nights at Freddy's. Basically, you have to make it to the end of the hallway as Tails, and Eggman is watching the cameras. So I'm guessing that means Tails is Foxy here, and Eggman is checking the cameras. Eggman will tell Tails when a seller is teleporting, and it's up to you to determine when to go and when not to by switching between the two characters. Well, I feel like this could have been executed better. I kind of like this idea. It did take me a few tries when playing, but this was one of the easiest levels in the game, in my opinion. Just get a feel for when he moves and you'll beat it in no time. Tails meets up with Robotnik again, and Robotnik basically says, yeah, so we should probably just go because I don't have anything to beat him. Wow. This is a genius, by the way, guys. Way to waste our time, dude. They go to the sunset on the cliff, talk about wanting to save the blue blur, and that is their ending. This was kind of refreshing to me, as I feel like this was pretty fair. This feeling, however, wouldn't last long as we go into the Knuckles and Eggman segment. Basically, Eggman tries to trick Knuckles and flies away, almost gets his shit rocked, and now they both have to fight Iseller and Tails. I would show the Eggman portion of this, but admittedly, the game would crash every time I died, so I was able to just get Knuckles' portion. But to my understanding, Tails would fly into these little energy balls, and you'd have to do it enough times before switching to Knuckles' portion, and that's pretty much that. And for Knuckles, you have to stand in these rings when Iseller shoots these little energy balls at you. They reflect back to him, and you'll have to do this until he reaches the end of the stage. At first, this isn't that bad, but this can get pretty annoying. You have this guy slowly chasing after you, speeding up when Iseller gets hit. So you have to dodge projectiles, dodge the floating clone, and try to manage your ring. And in my opinion, this is the hardest duo ending to get for that reason. I did eventually get the hang of it and developed my own strategy to beat it. After beating this guy, this level doesn't end just yet, as we have to do some platforming as Knuckles in Spring Yard Zone. It's pretty easy to do. I mean, you can die here, but just follow your instincts and I promise you'll make it to the end. This part of the ending I actually didn't mind, but man, the boss fight was annoying. We make it to the end and Robotnik is like, wow, Knuckles, you're a nice guy or whatever. And then Knuckles is like, thanks. Now let's save the world. Then they get killed off screen and that's all the duo endings. Okay, not nearly as bad as some of the other endings in this game, but some were still annoying to do. Yes, I use level select for most of this, but to be honest, I wanted to save myself time and be able to make a video on it for you guys. That's not to say I didn't have multiple attempts on how you were supposed to play this game. I truly did, but decided to stick with the level select so I can cover as much ground as possible, and I still did beat the levels, so I'm not a complete fraud, okay guys? That being said, we do have one ending to cover. And it's one I know people were waiting for. The true ending. If you're able to survive the brutal nature of this game with all three characters, you're treated to a special part of this game. The Master Emerald takes the three of them to Sky Sanctuary, where they try to come up with a plan. They take a solid 30 seconds before realizing that Iseller was listening to them this whole time. Somehow, he's able to feel what happens around all of Mobius and decides that he's going to try to kill one of them. So he hunts down each of them one at a time, starting with Robotnik. In this part of the boss fight, you have to make our bloody-eyed buddy run into pillars as we casually float through the sky. He gets faster the more damage he takes, and it's up to you to make him slam into pillars and avoid him. If he touches you once, you will die, but luckily, it's not too hard to avoid him. Yes, his hitbox is, well, freaking massive, and the controls of Eggman are a little weird, but you just hang around the corners, fly around at the right time, and boom! Though, he does get a little salty when he smashes into enough pillars, and he's like, man, I'm mad, and does a little spin and goes to find Knuckles. I feel like he could have had more effective ways of just ending Eggman here, but you know what? I'm not complaining. Knuckles' portion is a little bit more tricky though. But, I mean, that is until you realize there's a way to cheese it. Look, if this game's gonna cheat, I'm gonna cheat! There's this orb you have to grab that sends the laser to deal damage to Sonic. And in response, he'll send this big laser area thingy to hit you. You could fly over to another platform, Or you can climb up this thing in the middle and avoid it by climbing. If you're not fast enough, it doesn't always work, but that's pretty much what I did. And after fighting this boss for a while, he will start shooting lasers. So naturally, I climbed to the top to see if I could dodge the lasers that way. And much to my surprise, dear viewer, they couldn't reach me. So I ended up just repeating this until I beat them. There is this stuff that fills up the bottom of the screen, then goes back down. So you just gotta watch out for that and time your approaches. Though Sonic.EXE doesn't like that you're trying to cheese this boss fight, so he uses his insane speed and grabs Knuckles. There isn't much time before Sonic will end his life, and Tails comes in to save him. Tails asks for one of Robotnik's robots to fly into battle, and I'm a little confused by this because just a second ago, Robotnik was able to fly in the air without a robot, and I know his jetpack is broken, so it couldn't have been that unless he fixed it beforehand. But Tails can actually fly, and he didn't think of that, like, at all? I mean, he does get tired, sure, but you know what? Whatever. This is the hardest part of the boss fight and can get really difficult really fast. Before I jump into that, it's worth mentioning that if someone dies during the final boss, the others join them in some way. Robotnik will basically say, hey, you think I'm going to suffer alone? Then he evaporates them with some sort of beam, killing them both instantly. We then see a seller taunting us on how he will kill them off screen in each ending and to try our luck to get the best ending. Well, okay, pal, maybe I will. You have to hit a seller on the forehead enough times to beat him. The more you hit him, the more stuff he throws at you. I do like that there are rings placed around here, but you have to position yourself just right to actually hit him. And sometimes the badniks won't even track your movement, so you get caught floating in the air. Now for me, I usually got hit while doing this, so it sent me in the right direction and I didn't have too much trouble with it, but it was still a thing that happened. Do enough damage and you start to get this clone slowly chasing after you, along with some magic walls and projectiles constantly being spammed at you. It's so easy to get hit with 10 different things and lose here. I caught on and was able to finally beat him. But the game wouldn't just let you win easily, as we're met with one final choice. Everyone tries to run away, but a seller chases after them, falling to the floor. It appears that Sonic has stopped him momentarily, or, again, that's what it seems. You can either choose to help Sonic or escape without him. Okay, look, here's the thing, Sonic. I would love to help you, except I wouldn't. This game has put me through hell, and quite frankly, I believe you could do this on your own. Good luck, buddy. Leaving their blue buddy behind, the three of them escape, and we're brought to the cliffside we've seen many times before. The three of them try to figure out what to do, but look towards the future and hope they can find a way to combat this monster. We see all three of them together with their animated sprites, and man, this felt good. Sure, I didn't do it the right way, but I still sunk a lot of time and effort into this game. But there's still a little bit left, however. The ending screen congratulates you on winning, but shows us something I know I won't be able to escape. Cream and Amy are out looking for cheese. Cream's friend, not the, actual cheese. That'd be pretty funny, though. They decide to split up, and as they do this, my best friend starts to fly down and say the iconic line,
"Ready for round 2.
I will never be free. But that sounds like a problem for another day. Spirits of Hell has done a lot for the community and has inspired a lot of other Sonic.EXE games or EXE games in general. It had unique concepts and ideas, new mechanics, and a way to save everyone. And that was really cool to see. It also introduced voice acting along with a story that wasn't just, ooh, I'm Sonic.EXE and I'm gonna get ya. This game is still heavily flawed, but there were certain points I actually enjoyed. Despite all of my complaining, I could tell a lot of passion and thought went into making this game, and for that reason, I have to respect it. This really dared to try to do something different, and I think it brought in a lot of new people to the community. Also, a quick shout out to both Dakota and Sim for making the thumbnail. Links for them will be down in the description below. They did an amazing job, and this is what I believe to be my first technical drawn thumbnail for a video. If you want to try this game out for yourself, the link will be down below. For now, I'll leave you. Subscribe for my pain, and remember, stay freaky. That was Spirits of Hell. Sometimes I feel like I was a little too harsh on it, because after playing Whisper of Soul, which I have basically played all the way through, I was a little too harsh on this game, and it was just a really big skill issue. I still hate Hydrosity Zone, still hate it. I would not want to go back to it, but there were some parts where I was like, and I'm just going to say it, and you guys can have your opinions about this. Whisper of Soul is so much harder. It's harder because there is more content, right? There's more content in it, and it's harder to get through. The game has its good moments. You guys will find out when the video comes out. But now that I played the sequel, I can say maybe I was a little too hard on it. Spirits of Hell would go on to inspire a bunch of other games. And for that reason, I have to give it credit. But man, it was an experience when I was getting footage for it and actually playing it. Because, oh my god, some of these levels were just absolutely absurd. If you guys can hear clicking, I'm going through and I'm like the different parts of the video, because I was going to take little notes about what I said about some things, and I feel like I'm forgetting something important that I was going to say. The Eggman level, though, I will not back down on that. That was ruthless. Very short, but still very ruthless. So the next game isn't as hard, or actually very hard at all. The next game I'm going to be talking about is Sonic.EXE Wrath on Mobius. See, I made this mistake. I was like, Wrath of Mobius, but Mobius doesn't have the wrath. It's the wrath that's being put on Mobius, and I just never corrected it, but it's Wrath on Mobius, and I apologize for all the confusion I had. Oh, fun fact about this one. This is absolutely insane that I'm going to say this. The short that I made based off of this video reached 1 million views. And that is very that's baffling to me, because I always wanted a video. Like, I just wondered what it was like, and I was like, I'm looking at it and I'm still like, wow, this is absolutely insane. I'm so honored. But yeah, this is Sonic.EXE Wrath of Mobius, a more recent Sonic.EXE game that I've really enjoyed. For the longest time, Sonic.EXE games were walk to the right simulator. We all know this. It was a quick spook, and that was pretty much it, if you could call it that. But as time went on, for whatever reason, this concept evolved. I mean, it for sure had some growing pains, but fans saw potential in the idea that Sonic could have a darker story. Sonic Frontiers, in my opinion, is a great example of this. Or the Metal Virus, to all my comic fans out there. Sonic.exe has become a subgenre within the community and can be so much more than what it originally was. There could be different stories told by different people and different games that showcase storytelling in an EXE type style. Most people know Sonic Saves Robloxia. I already talked about that game. But today, we're going to talk about a game that I believe shows what a Sonic.exe can be and explore the lore that resides within it. I mean, at the end of the day, these are still Sonic fan projects, just with a little bit of mixed of horror and gore. Let's jump into one of the most visually appealing Sonic.exe games I have seen. Sonic.exe Wrath of Mobius is a game made by Lolo Bird, and this is actually the first game they ever made. This shocked me because, I mean, look at this. It's not the perfect game. It does have bugs, but this is mostly due to the time crunch they had in order to submit it to the Luigi Kid EXE Challenge. It's also a demo, but it has a decent amount of content. I would say if you want to explore everything, it has about an hour and 30 minutes or so of content. Now, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but if you like Sonic.exe Spirits of Hell, you are going to love this game. The game opens with an attention screen, basically warning you that this game is going to be, well, a Sonic.exe game. Keep in mind, as I talk about it, there will be a few sections with flashing images. Following this, we have a cute animation of Sonic being startled by the Sonic Team logo, and a Luigi Kid sprite along with Lolo Bird's own OC. Everything goes so smooth so far, but you really tell the game's quality when the logo screen shows up. Sonic drops down from the top of the screen, and it seems to be more of a modern Sonic as opposed to our usual classic Sonic. The animation here is really smooth, and I'll try my best to find different words to use because I end up sounding like a broken record. But with the start like this, we can already tell it looks pretty damn good. After this title screen, we get the real title screen, which has a pretty good theme going on in the background with the Stardust Speedway motif, but it's still a remix. Before starting the game, I wanted to point out that for both the option menu and extra menu, there's something that happens. Going to the options menu, we get an animation that has Sonic walking to the cliffside, looking off in the distance. Now, there is a bug where, for some reason, you have to toggle voice acting off, then on again in order to actually get it to work. But there is indeed voice acting. It'll likely be fixed at some point, but it was worth noting in case you didn't know. I'll get to the extra menu after we explore the main demo, so let's dive into that. When starting, we're met with an option to do a tutorial, which if you're a little baby, I guess you could do. I am a little baby, actually. And chances you will too, because this game has actual gameplay, with a few different mechanics. I find it really cool that we get a Sonic Unleashed level to start us off, and right off the bat, you can tell this game looks clean. From Sonic's run animation to his jump, everything looks so good. And while we're here, I might as well go over the gameplay mechanics we have, explained by another Sonic. This Sonic casually throws shade at some other Sonic.EXE games and says Sonic has a large moveset. But if you think about it, he just said Sonic.EXE inside of a Sonic.EXE game. This reminds me of something.
I'm not like the other EXEs.
The game combines all of the elements of modern Sonic and classic Sonic we know and love. We're talking boost, homing attack, wall jumping, double jump, and they even have it to where Sonic can drop dash. Kinda. The momentum in this game feels pretty good, and when we get to the first Sonic level, you'll be able to use his momentum however you want to. It's pretty neat. But let's be real here, it wouldn't be an EXE game if we didn't play as Tails. Once reaching the tutorial checkpoint, we switch characters and learn Tails' mechanic. Tails has an arm cannon that can charge up with a little meter here, and it is actually pretty useful later. You can also drop bombs on badniks, and thankfully you can cancel flying. A strange thing to point out, but you would be surprised at how common it is for Tails to be in freefall and the spooky hedgehog is able to get you because of bad game design. Spirit hell. Though there isn't much to his tutorial since that's all he really does. When hitting the third checkpoint, we switch to Knuckles. Now, this is the Tails demo, so it's not fully done yet. This is just a taste of what Knuckles does. Basically, he has his usual arsenal, but now he punches the ground really hard and rocks come up. That's it? Sonic has homing attack, Tails has a freaking arm cannon, and Knuckles gets a rock? That's so lame! I mean, he can punch too. Obviously, he's Knuckles. And if you time it with the rock, you can hit it up into the air or hit the rock at someone. And I'm no expert, but I bet getting hit with a boulder would probably hurt. Just a guess though. There isn't much to Knuckles just yet, as this mostly focuses on Sonic and Tails. After the tutorial, the real bulk of the game starts. Wrath of Mobius is primarily a story game, but mixes in gameplay pretty well. I'll tell you the story as it's happening. The first cutscene we see is explaining the events leading up to when the game takes place. And while a lot of EXE games take place during the Genesis era, this game takes place somewhere right after Sonic Forces. The Resistance was able to push back Eggman's empire. Despite this, it seems Eggman has been successful in terrorizing everywhere. This even goes on to mention the Metal Virus, which is from the Sonic comics. I won't go into what the Metal Virus was, but no, it wasn't pretty. Weeks after those events, Eggman would start scheming once again, leading us here. Eggman appears to be outrunning Sonic. This actually happens more than you think it would. And while Sonic isn't going full speed, this is still pretty impressive. This guy's speed stat should be maxed out. They have their usual banter before Eggman makes a sick jump into his Eggmobile. I gotta say, the voice acting here is pretty good. I would say that the voice acting is pretty convincing for the character. So, well done, Wrath of Mobius. The first stage starts with a classic loading screen, akin to more modern Sonic games before loading in. Lost Jungle is a pretty good first level, having enemies to burst through with the burst and a few loops. I really like using the homing attack in this game. The way that the screen shakes and Sonic does a cool little pose, I honestly love. Nothing really happens during this level, it just helps you get used to Sonic's movement. The next cutscene has Sonic destroying some machines, and one of the sound effects used is a Smash Bros. Ultimate reference. And if you know my history, you know I love that game. Eggman escapes into Grand Metropolis, and we actually get a different art style here. A pretty neat detail. Sonic calls up Tails for backup, and we're on our way to the next level. Each stage isn't really that long, but there is platforming that could be a little tricky if you're trying to style and brute force your way through, like me. I died here more times than I'm proud of because I wanted to spike the dev and run through my own way. The results? Less than ideal. It will be somewhat easy for people, but you'll have to be careful if you want to just hold right and win. After beating the level, we meet up with our best friend Eggman again, and he introduces us to the new Sonic heroes. This is Team Metal, and it consists of Metal Knuckles, Tails Doll, and Metal Sonic. This is gonna be one hell of a fight because, oh wait, I get it, Sonic Heroes. Very clever, Eggman. Alright, the first battle is... Oh god, I'm getting PTSD from Tails Doll and Whisper of Soul. I don't know if I'll ever release a video for that, but just know this boss fight has been my sleep paralysis demon for a very long time. This Tails Doll fight is actually kind of fun. Each metal variant offers something different, and you gotta mix up your attacks to dodge them. Tails Doll can drop bombs that you can reflect back to him, shoot lasers, and create these little shockwaves you gotta dodge. I like that there's a hit counter to measure their health, instead of you just having to guess blindly and hope to God you're doing some damage. I feel like my attacks are actually connecting and I'm doing damage, unlike in this stupid. Metal Knuckles is a pretty cool inclusion, and he has a homing attack that locks onto you and you gotta dodge it. He also tosses rocks at you like normal Knuckles. Oh, and it does hurt getting hit by rocks. Though, I gotta say, it's pretty forgiving when it comes to being hit. Sonic is able to regain his rings pretty easily, and it's not hard to get back on your feet. You could still die, but it's not unfair. He also drops flames you have to dodge, but that's it. He's probably the easiest phase out of the three, though the last one is a little more difficult. He shoots these beams you have to go through, and if you don't move accordingly, you'll get hit. He also launches little energy balls that hit you, but you can power through and homing attack him. Gotta say, been loving that. So far, it's just been a pretty decent Sonic fan game. But don't worry, viewer, things will take a turn for the worse very soon. For now, Sonic defeats the Mechanical Bunch, and Eggman pulls up with the Blast from the Past, as it's called. Knuckles and Tails pull up right after, and the actual Sonic heroes are about to destroy this thing. Get ready for another boss fight. Oh, wait, never mind. I mean, let's be real here. We already knew how this was gonna go. And so, the heroes have done it once again. They stop the evil Eggman, and to celebrate, they go to Uncle Chuck's. This place is brimming with Sonic OCs and a bunch of Sonic characters, both from the comics and the games. I'll leave it to you guys to stop and pause it to see who you can spot. And another Smash reference, and there's also this. Honestly, not sure what's happening here. Aside from that, Sonic is being told to slow down on the chili dogs, and he shares a moment with Uncle Chuck. And soon after, Sally joins up with the group. She talks about how Eggman will inevitably come back, but they should celebrate their victory tonight and to remember to rise against the villainy. To never lose hope. Though, this is about to get a lot harder considering what happens. We cut to a beautiful moonlit sky as the camera pans to what appears to be a Fox Mobian. The mysterious Mobian goes on to express how, with Sonic's power, he could break apart the Freedom Fighters. He sees someone standing by a capsule. This guy is working with Eggman, setting up a bunch of fake capsules for some reason. The poor guy gets absolutely destroyed by our big bad here. I'll be referring to this guy as Azazel from now on. He takes place as the Sonic.EXE in the story. While we don't know too much about his past, some of his motives are pretty clear. But what I find interesting is, he's already Mobian. As in, before hunting Sonic and his friends, he used to be in the planet, though we'll get to that. For now, we should focus on the plot. Azazel claims he will be Mobius' salvation, and that he will somehow end the suffering of Mobius. But first, he will need to take out the blue blur. Speaking of which, Sonic is caught napping in Green Hill, getting a call from Tails. Tails tells us that there have been some strange signals on his scanner, causing it to go haywire, and it's crawling with badniks, and we're tasked with checking it out. Wouldn't be a Sonic.EXE game without Green Hill, and that's the next level. One thing I like about this game is there's a timer that sits at the top, so for all you speedrunners out there, you might get some fun out of this. Honestly, the way the screen shakes when you do a drop dash, and the way it moves from boost is really satisfying. After zooming through, we get to the next cutscene. Sonic is a little confused because, as we saw, there weren't that many badniks. Tails is also confused because that's just what it said. There's an animal capsule nearby, but Tails says to keep an eye out. But before he's able to run to it, he gets picked up and carried as Eggman throws his badniks at him like he was planning to do. And guess what? I hope you like QuickTime events because it's in this section, but I ended up dying because one of them was the V button, and I could tell that that was put there to throw you off. Sonic takes a few hits from the robots as they throw out coordinated attacks, but he locks the fuck in and does a sick kick spin to end the battle. Way past cool, Sonic. He then calls Tails, but for some reason, that doesn't work out. After this fails, he curses? Whoa there, Sonic, cussing his shadows thing.
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?
Sonic goes to free the birds, but as you and I both know, instead of a bunch of cute flickies coming out, Sonic gets his ass kicked and has his body stolen. Yikes, buddy, that's rough. Though, after being possessed, Sonic pulls a Yuji Todori and breaks free of it for a moment. He thinks that running away from his demons is the answer, but Azazel just takes his body back anyway. Though he does appear to be a little shocked at how resilient Sonic is. He then proceeds to do the most outrageous shit I've ever seen. You see this cute little critter here? And you see how Azazel is looking at this thing? What do you, the viewer, think is gonna happen? He tears its head off and eats it. Bro, that was so unnecessary for him to do, and do it in Sonic's body is mad disrespectful. The guy already eats chili dogs, but like, this is a raw pig's head. It really goes to show you just how evil this guy is, and it made my jaw drop. It gets worse. The poor guy is taking a walk, and he sees Sonic and gets excited. Seems like he's a fan, and really looks up to him. So, Azazel, being the stand-up guy he is, shoves the rest of the pig into this guy's mouth, pulls a Dio time stop, and we get this sick animation of Azazel tearing off his jaw and fucking kicking him. Then he laughs about it. That's just kind of a dick move. Who even does that? Though, the Eggman encounter goes a little differently. See, in games like Spirits of Hell, a seller has his own motive and a goal after taking Sonic's body. Instead of outright trying to kill Ivo when he arrives, he instead talks to him and tries to work with him. Now, I'm not saying that's the case with Spirits of Hell, but that's just a lot of Sonic.EXE games, alright? I know I'm coming at Spirits of Hell and Whisper of Soul a lot. They're not terrible. At first, Eggman thinks Sonic has lost his mind, but realizes pretty quick that Sonic doesn't usually talk with a demonic voice, and doesn't look like a literal devil? Azazel offers to help Eggman build his empire, and in return, Eggman helps him search for an ancient artifact that was lost long ago. He doesn't give too much detail on it. Obviously, Eggman is a little skeptical and wonders what would happen if his usefulness ran out to Azazel. Azazel argues that their goals align because he just beat his arch nemesis to a pulp, that being enough to prove he won't do that. Personally, this would be sketchy as hell. I mean, look at this guy. But at the same time, Eggman has had very few victories, so he takes Azazel up on the offer. The Sonic.EXE takes a much bloodier appearance and introduces himself as Azazel. I know, take a shot every time I say Azazel, you will die. And now, the true Sonic.EXE game begins. Azazel takes the Mobius body and Sonic's body with him as he and the Doctor depart. And we are shown the next two victims. Tails is flying with some Shadow Raiders before getting a call from another team who's having some trouble. So they're forced to land the tornado. Meanwhile, Azazel and the Doctor are about to make a hard push against them, and that's what leads us to Cyan City. This is the first Tails level, and it's pretty fun. Tails moves moderately fast, and hitting enemies is fun because with some of them you could hit them and watch them fly and explode, and it actually feels like I can control the character. And any mistake I make is mostly my own doing. Other Sonic.EXE games make you feel like you forfeit control, and they're mostly just helpless victims that can't do anything. And while that type of story can work, it can also get pretty repetitive. You'll see that Tails is able to fight back later, but for now, damn, Azazel just Shoryuken his ass! This knocks him out cold, and with a little bit of fairy dust, Tails is out for the count. We wake up in Emerald Hill Zone, except this time there are faces in the background, just as I remembered it. Sometimes there's a glitch where you spawn in the floor. It's not like it soft locks you, but I thought it was funny. Tails moves slower now because, you know, he's a little scared. And for some reason, Fang is here? Dude laughs at you in the most comically evil way I've heard. It's okay, Tails. At least you're relevant. We passed a goalpost that shows a really messed up Tails, but I like the sprite moves instead of it being a stale image. There's lots of small details like that too. Tails gets a blast from the past, and by blast, I mean he's met with a reunion of these guys. If you remember, these are Tails' bullies from Sonic Origin. I like that this game includes characters you don't usually see, and they even turn into this weird spider monster you have to fight. The boss fight isn't too bad, but it does require some patience. You gotta time your attacks and jumps, and while also blasting this guy with your arm cannon. Though one thing that will make people uncomfortable are these little tail head things this guy places down. Hit him 16th time and Tails wakes up in a dream. Though he doesn't get long to wake up before Sonic runs up. Sonic says something fishy is going on, and Tails says something about seeing some creatures. Sonic, proceeds to gaslight the fuck out of him and then asked if he can fly the tornado. We know the drill. Sonic blasts off and Tails heads to Angel Island. Upon landing, everything is as it should be. But there's a teleporter that takes Tails to Hidden Palace. There's a small cutscene that has a teleporter ring and Tails. Details like this is pretty cool to see. Upon getting to Hidden Palace, Tails begins to take notice on how Knuckles left a note on Infinite. He feels like he's been a coward and thinks that he could do much better. This is a sign of his mental decline, just as Azazel once. Tails attempts to lock in and starts searching for Knuckles, but notices Angel Island was suddenly on fire. Upon going there, he gets jumped. Azazel taunts him a little, but Tails is able to escape and zooms off. And a bomb goes off, and the rest of the stage is on fire now, which may seem familiar to Sonic.EXE fans. Instead of playing tag, despite Sonic.EXE saying it's hide and seek, we actually do that here. After Azazel kicks Tails down, it's up to you to play hide and seek. That's right, and even if you don't hide, you don't die right away. At the top it says to hide, and you have 10 seconds to find these bushes scattered throughout the map. As long as Tails is darkened in the background, then you're hiding and Azazel won't find you. The best strategy here is to hide near a cliff, as this cuts how long he's on screen for. If you don't hide, he starts dashing after you. He's pretty annoying to deal with when he's like this, but if you charge up your cannon, you're able to hit him and he becomes stunned. If you run away from him, he'll stay gone until the words hide appear again. While I like the hopeless nature of some horror games, it's realistic that Tails would put up some sort of a fight, especially around the Sonic Forces era, so this was a neat detail. One cool thing I like about this is Azazel will actually start learning your habits if you take too long. Let's say you hide in the same spot, or you're hiding too often. He will start seeing you and getting used to your patterns. Hiding becomes less effective. Yes, you have a fighting chance, but if you take too long, that slips away. This was a really cool detail people may not have noticed. It basically gives you a reason to try and hurry to finish the stage. He even does an animation that, when he sees you, makes you go, oh shit. You also need to manage your flight stamina, and when you're flying up, the stage intentionally makes it to where you have to be patient and will cut it very close to you falling. With a bit of patience and tenacity, we reach the end, finding Sonic pretty tired out. Tails is confused on how Sonic got up here without a tornado. Then he pops like a balloon, and out comes a newborn Azazel. Yep, that was a sentence I just said. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like if my neighbors heard me say these things. One thing I will say about this game is a bit of a small critique. The volume for the voices in the background is a little quiet. I do want the voices to be more upfront, and the background can overlap that, or the voices get too loud. However, I've also had an infinite number of audio issues, so I can understand how this happens. It's still cool this game has voice acting and all, and it's not just for select lines, most of the game has voice acting. Anyway, Tails gets chased by Azazel like in the classic Sonic.EXE game, and when he catches up, Tails puts up a fight instead of tripping and crying like a baby, though he would have been better off doing that because our big bad proceeds to punt Tails and spike him like a volleyball, scratch his eyes, then kick him in the face, only to leave him in the sewers with whoever this guy is. Now, I will say, on the topic of voice acting, everyone in this game does a pretty convincing job. But as a quick side note, the Tails voice actor is pretty damn good.
Yeah. God, everything hurts. How long was I out for?
This guy brings up a crocodile that's been lurking in the waters. And there's only one crocodile that's considered an old friend to Tails. Azazel got Vector, and he can apparently smell fear. This guy gets devoured like it's nothing, and our other friend shows up to taunt us once more. Azazel says that he set Vector free, and the rest of Tails' friends will join him. From this point, we can start speculating his motives. Sure, this guy is pure evil and enjoys the hunt, but it's clear he believes you shouldn't have free will. My theory is, if you have emotions, then you're suffering, and in a way, Azazel wants to stop that. By taking away free will, he takes away people's terrible thoughts. He also gets sheep who will follow his every word, and he's worshipped just how he wants. Though, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Azazel goes after Knuckles, and we have to go through the deep sewage with the hungry crocodile. This level has a sound meter, and the more you walk, the more sound you make. Things like flying, the start of spin dashing, walking, all combine to the sound. If it reaches all the way to red, Vector appears. Sometimes it's ideal to let him hit you, because after he does, you get a bit of iframes. Also, as a tip, if you're moving in a ball, it doesn't make any noise, so you could try to speedrun the level like this. There's also an underwater section where swimming won't make any noise, and your health isn't determined by rings, but by how many times you get hit and this little Tails meter here. Just be patient with some approaches. Time it right, and you'll make your way through. We jump through the ring, and Tails survived the nightmare for now. He just has to reach his lab, and hopefully he can get fixed up. We get a cutscene of Knuckles chilling by the Master Emerald, up until he feels something nearby, a Chaos Emerald. Upon finding it, he receives a message from Sally. Tails' radar has gone offline, and Knuckles is tasked with going to check it out, with Sally promising to watch the island while he's gone. I'm sure this will go well. Knuckles flies to Starlight Zone, and as he flies in the background, old Team Chaotix watches him. Both Mighty and Espio seem to have been taken over by Azazel, and they're given a mission to kill him. The two want to talk to him first so that he could see the truth, and it sounds to me like they want to indoctrinate him into a cult, because, I mean, let's be real, that's what this is. I do find it interesting though, as Mighty says he hopes it doesn't result in a fight. So they likely have some of their old personality, but their views are heavily warped. With them heading towards Knuckles, we get the good ending. Well, as good as the good ending can be. Azazel congratulates us and takes us to the past to show us something. The kid and his parent are playing together, and while all seems well, I think we all know what's going on here. The kid wants to play hide and seek, but the person who's seeking just so happens to be, well, not the kid's parent. Not sure how Azazel didn't see him here, unless he did and he's just messing with the kid, which is likely the case. The kid gets up and tries to leave, but the door is locked. Azazel threatens him, and it looks like the kid escapes. Truth be told, I have no idea what this has to do with the story, but it does show you a little bit of Azazel's willingness to hurt anyone. And that's the end of the demo, or at least the mainline stuff. There's a lot of cool Easter eggs and additional content I think a lot of people could have missed. For example, there's a bad ending. It's basically the evil hedgehog telling you that you've got to save Tails in order to get the extra cutscene, essentially earning your right for extra content. It's also worth mentioning that right from the beginning, you get a level select at the top left of the screen in the menu, which is really great, because some games, Whisper of Soul, make you have to play the level first, but it's really easy to go back to a specific level. Let's explore the extras menu. I won't read every description or tell you everything in the extra menu, mostly because this video is likely long enough. But I did want to mention that this included some cool stuff. The fact that there's a little area here where you can explore your options is pretty cool. There's even a biography section that talks about each character and their abilities, except for Azazel. His is written in Morse code, and for anyone curious, it translates to, "You won't be needing this information, scum." Wow. Thanks, dude. It's alright. I think I already got your story figured out. As I've mentioned before, my theory is this guy used to be an important figure in Mobius, or maybe he was born into a wrong household. Azazel seems to hate people who fight for free will. Perhaps he suffered a lot in the past, and in order to make himself feel bigger in suffering, he'll enslave everyone and have them worship him. He's a narcissist, through and through. He loves to toy with people because it makes him feel powerful. More will be revealed in time. That's just my guess for the character. In the extras menu, You can also find some scrapped content. This game used to be on a different game engine. There was an entirely different take on the character before it became what it is today. In fact, I believe Azazel went through 5 or 6 different designs. Going further, there's a fan art section. Pretty cool artwork here. There's also the hidden flesh. It says it's not available in this version, and honestly, I'm a little curious to find out what the hell that means. Okay. I talked about the extra menus, so what are some things you may have missed? Similar to other games like Spirits of Hell, there are game over menus depending on where you die in game. Each game over menu has a unique animation if you choose to let the timer run out, or if you choose to get up. In some cases, there are cutscenes that play out if you choose to lose. I'll show them to you now, so you won't have to hunt for them. Starting with what happens when you lose against Team Metal. And if you're like me, you probably lost the QTE part as well. You'll notice there's this little exclamation mark right before a robot blasts Sonic in the face. I like the little game over celebration as if it's a good thing you lost.
Game over, yeah!
Next up is Tails when he gives up in Cyan City. Sonic deadass just cuts off his head from his body and does a pretty sick pose. I know this is Azazel, but seeing Sonic brutally kill Tails is definitely a sight. Tails! I told you not to eat my last chili dog! Ah! This is one of the ones that has a cutscene after, and it's basically Azazel choosing this guy as another victim. The leader of the wolf pack says that there will be another hero to rise up and oppose Azazel, but he's having none of that. He hits him with the one-liner and kills him. Yikes, 2 game over screens for 1. The next loss is against Split, the weird spider creature. I like this one because it shows Split inching forward to you as the timer counts down, though the unexpected happens. That thing is just a distraction. Instead, if you lose, Azazel will appear behind the fox, rip off his tails, and kick him. Man, this guy loves to kick the shit out of Tails. He then zooms off and we get a small cutscene. He places his hand on his head and snaps it, like the 2011 X game. It even has a 2011 text. Pretty cool. This next one has a little bit of lore significance. This happens when you choose to give up Inferno Fireland. I think some people for sure missed this one. One question I had on my mind was, how do Chaos Emeralds, or the Master Emerald, react to Azazel? In this animation, we actually get a bit of an answer to that. He goes to try and harness the Master Emerald's power, and seems like he's familiar with the older Echidna tribe. He seems to be a little surprised it's still around. Upon trying to force out its power, he's rejected. No matter how hard he tries, his incantation doesn't seem to work on it, though he speaks in a language I'm not familiar with. This gives us a little bit of insight into his past and how familiar he is with Mobian culture. But we still got a little more secrets to explore. In Deep Sewage, Tails drowns deep in the dirty water, and soon after, only pieces come up. I also saw a mustache here with his remains, and I can't unsee it. Though, this is another one with the cutscene. Azazel is sitting here, looking off into the distance, talking about how Mobians have grown weak and soft. He's literally the old man shaking his fist at the sky meme. He says their lives are better off corrupted, serving a higher purpose. This kind of plays into my theory. He does mention how they were much worse, and that's the part we won't find out until later. Whoever they were is a mystery. The next secret is against Split, and it only happens if you run out of lives in this boss fight specifically. Then it triggers a special cutscene. For some reason, a messed up version of Eggman is here, along with Sonic and Mecha Sonic, which again was a pretty awesome inclusion. Oh, and as a quick thing, you can see a messed up version of Sonic and Tails in the clouds and Azazel in the stars. The Sonic and Tails is a reference to the Sonic 2 start screen, and I thought that was a neat detail. You could definitely tell this game was made by a Sonic fan. The screen fades to black as the 2 Sonics clash, and we're brought to Sonic waking Tails up. And while we're at it, Emerald Hill is filled with a bunch of Easter eggs. Exploring a little, we find a TV that has this happen. Oh, flashing lights warning.
No matter what you do, you will end up like the rest of us.
That was Tails.EPS. I don't know much about him, but this was a pretty interesting find. Hanging around, we also have these guys. They kind of look like raisins. A lot of what's around here are references to something, whether that be the dev's friends OCs or the dev's OCs himself, and a lot of characters from the comics. If you go back enough in Emerald Hill, you can get an additional death scene with Tails getting pinned by a spike as Azazel slowly walks forward. He literally eats Tails' face, and Tails clings to life with everything he has. What's cool about this death scene is we get a perspective change and a bit of a different art style. Azazel says he's going to go after Knuckles and leaves Tails to die. Also, in Emerald Hill, we fly up and find a messed up Cream who grabs Tails by the throat, and Sally randomly joins the fun as well. One small detail I picked up on was the phrase unworthy of kindness and unworthy of fairness, and I thought that was odd phrasing. Until I realized, oh, that's another Sonic.EXE reference. Yes, viewer, it does call back to the kind and fair level in Sonic.EXE. Which one, you may ask? Yes, Cream and Sally mess with Tails' mentality before ripping his heart out. Goddamn. Alright, viewer. We only got a couple more, so bear with me. In the sewers, we explore and find a red ring that takes us to Oil Ocean. Unfortunately for Tails, the red ring isn't usually a good sign. I mean, can't blame the guy. He couldn't see it coming. Get it? Because this is Oil Ocean? Yeah, I'll just put the price in the bag now. Azazel grabs Tails by the throat. Tails begs for mercy, but we all know what Azazel is about. Tails hopelessly tries to say Sonic will stop him, blah blah blah, though funny enough he does let go of Tails for like a minute. Azazel says things will be different this time, which confused me because it sounds like they may have encountered this guy before. I mean, was there a time before where he tried to stop them? Azazel swipes at Tails and blood gushes out. And while he starts to bleed, Azazel takes Tails by the throat and picks him up, going on a true villain speech. He makes his motives known to the dying fox, as we get some pretty sick art. He wishes to plunge the world into chaos, to make it suffer and become like him. He goes on to say Tails is only alive because fear keeps him alive. This is probably one of the coolest things in the game, and sadly, people will miss out on it. But that's why I'm here today. You're welcome, viewer. With one final bite, Azazel kills Tails and sets Oil Ocean in flames. Alright, next route. The blue ring. You would think that choosing a blue ring would be good. You go into what I'm guessing is a pool of blood and Vector eats you, with the longest roar I have ever heard. But that is the extent of all the Easter eggs, and that is the full demo of Wrath of Mobius. Sonic.EXE Wrath of Mobius isn't perfect, but I think it's a step in the right direction for Sonic.EXE games. A new era of Sonic fan games that take what the bloody-eyed blue blur failed to do at first and try to spin it and make it better, preferably by people who are decent. Roblox games like Outcome Memories and the Disaster Reborn showcase that you can have fun with the genre, and games like Sonic Saves Robloxia and Wrath of Mobius show there could be potential here. This is a step in the right direction, and hopefully more games start to adapt a similar style, with their own spin on it to keep people guessing. That's all I got today. Subscribe, and remember, stay freaky. Okay, so I went ahead and cut it out. But at the end, there was a song called Cosmic Feeling, I think was the name. And basically, it was the first song that I was going to sing within the FNAF community. And the person who mixed it, Blooper, actually does a great job. I just wrote like new lyrics for it. It's a Trikill remix for my original character, Lucian, and his old lore, which was entirely different. And it was kind of like reflective of like, you know, where I'm at now and how much I've grown on YouTube and how grateful I am. Of course, I shown that by just some plain text over an image that you can't really read. And I'm like, way to show your appreciation, Dunkachi. You have like 80,000 subscribers now, and you put text. It's so stupid. And I'm like, dude, nobody's gonna get to this part in the video, so I'm just rambling. But I just like, I'm looking back at that. I don't even think it was like that long ago, and I'm just like, what are you doing? bro. Like, what was I doing back at like 56,000 subscribers that I was like, thank you guys so much. Let me show you my appreciation by putting like text with a little bit of borders around it over my first video. And I'm like, I could do so much better than that. And that's what I chose to do. And also, yeah, the song is good though. Like, I mean, like I said, I didn't like my lyrics. They kind of make me cringe a little bit. It was originally going to be something entirely different. So I have something else that I'm working on that's going to be way more grand for 100K. Don't worry guys, only the best for you guys. I will no longer be putting like text over like a screen like that. Instead, you guys might get a little bit of fun animation with the text now. No, but seriously, Wrath of Mobius. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about that. Lolo and I still talk. Like Lolo Bird, the developer of it, we still talk actually. You know, he might be making a Lucian sprite for me, which I'm very grateful for. And talking a bit about the game itself, it seems like it has a very promising start, and it's going to have a collaboration with the Nightmare Universe Prime, which seems like it's going to be pretty cool. But yeah, the game itself had some interesting, unique concepts, like you being able to play as Sonic for the first part and not immediately Tails, and it starts out as like a sort of Sonic adventure before the EXE is actually introduced. And when the EXE is introduced, you're able to fight back. I did make a mistake saying that Tails was, because like in Forces, Tails was scared, and I think I just blinked that, but he's learning to be like more brave. Well, as you guys may have saw, it didn't exactly work out for him. But the graphics in this game, the sprite animation, the way it looks, the more the gameplay mechanics that it's going to add versus the gameplay mechanics it already has, seems to be very, very promising, and I'm excited. I hope we get to see more and it leans into that, and we get to see like more gameplay mechanics. I think I know a little bit that I'm not going to reveal to you guys, but there is stuff to look forward to for this, and I think it's going to be a very fun Sonic fan game at its core. It's very cool. The next game is one that a lot of people find interesting and a lot of fun, and something that I've had fun playing with friends and chat. This is Sonic.EXE Outcome Memories. You guys will know it probably, and I know people would be confused if it wasn't on here, so here's me reviewing and talking about that game.
Recently, a much anticipated game has dropped on Roblox, and I gotta say, it's impressed me so far. Sonic.EXE Outcome Memories is a multiplayer game developed by a team of passionate people in the community, and while it only has one killer so far, reception for the game has been very positive. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about what to expect in the future, what I think about the game now, and what each of the characters do to the best of my knowledge, and of course, discuss a little bit about the lore. Because there's actually a little bit to this game, and one piece of it I find really cool is the lore. However, I will be making a separate video explaining and focusing on the lore of the new characters when they release. Oh, and I'll be taking my information from the Outcome Memories unofficial wiki. Link for that will be down in the description below, and also playing the game myself. You can think of this video as a sort of guide to Sonic.EXE Outcome Memories, what each of the characters do, and I should have timestamps if I remember, so that way you don't have to do all the reading and you could just kind of jump right into it. Okay, let's go. First things first, I absolutely love the models and art style of this game. It looks great, and it's a lot of fun. I knew this game was going to be great when I first heard about it, and while it has some bugs, it was definitely worth the wait. The OST to this game is phenomenal, and the attention to detail is spectacular. This project has love for not only the Sonic franchise, but love for the EXE community combined into one beautiful game. I cannot gush enough just how much I appreciate the detail and the thought that went into this. I feel like it's a crime they aren't making money for this, and I would give them the money if I had the chance. Also, please don't do that though, because people will be mad at me because I said that. There are currently 7 survivors in game and 1 killer. The current survivors are Tails, Knuckles, Eggman, Amy, Cream, and my favorite, Sonic. You'll see why he's my favorite when I talk about him, and it's not just because he's Sonic. The only executioner in this game so far is 2011X, the original X. Each executioner has lore for why they're here, kind of like Dead by Daylight. For the sake of time and my sanity, I will only be talking about X for now. When the other executioners are released, I'll make a video on them and talk about them. The exception being one guy, and for lore's sake, it's good I bring him up now. The Outcome King is a character specifically made for Outcome Memories. Quoted from the wiki, it reads, "The Outcome King, created and owned by Ross, is an important lore character responsible for the creation in-universe of Outcome Memories. His main occupation is kidnapping both survivors and executioners before placing them in a hellish purgatory survival game. Other than that, not much is known about the Outcome King's motives. He is currently accessible as an executioner to developers only, and no news has been given regarding public access," end quote. An all-seeing entity that has the power to bring in gods and survivors is a cool idea, and I'm curious to find out how he does this. Does he just offer them entertainment? Or does he force them? Can he force them? Only time will tell. But that's how they got here. I also think it's cool that he straight up alters the game. If a developer joins with this, the Outcome King doesn't have any abilities. Rather, he turns the game into a hide-and-seek match, in which the survivors must hide from him, and if they are caught, they're pretty much guaranteed to die, as the Outcome King is extremely fast and does 65 damage. I mean, considering he's the guy behind all this, it makes sense for him to make the rules. A very fascinating character and a cool design. When a developer joins the game and you see this character, I can imagine the oh shit moment from everyone. While I won't be covering anyone else's lore until they're added in-game, I will tell you who they're adding both survivors and executioners. For the survivors, it's Silver, Blaze, Fang. Okay, that's pretty cool. Fang representation? Mighty, Ray, Shadow, Rouge, E123 Omega, Infinite, Sally, Honey, Vector, SBO, and Charmy. Oh, and of course we can't forget about the dev exclusive, Sans, my favorite Sonic character. I will say, the lineup of survivors is unlike anything we've seen, with a ton of variety, and quite frankly, I'm super excited to see their moveset. Characters like Honey from the IDW comics, and not used characters like Fang, Omega, and Infinite, gives me a lot of hope for this game's future. The survivors have a stacked cast, but what about the executioners? Oh boy. Most of you will get hyped to at least one of these. Colossus will be added in the next update, then Sonic.EXE, and the rest will come later. This already gives homage to Sonic.EXE TD, a game that likely inspired this one and the developers openly loved. They even have a memoriam in-game. Sonic.EXE has been a staple in the EXE community and was one of the games to gain traction and do the formula a little differently with new content on the way. But that's only the tip of the iceberg, my friends, as we have Lord X, No More Innocence, Starved and Furnace, 2017X, and Genesis X, Lucian, just kidding, my EXE wouldn't make it in. Just wanted to throw you guys for a loop. Corin X, All Farter, EXE, Imperfect, Suture, newly confirmed Tails Doll and Rewrite instead of OMT, Miss Crimson's X, Looney, and Alucard. Some of these names may sound unfamiliar, and that's because the cast consists of new characters the devs have made specifically for this game. Imperfect, Suture, Looney, and Alucard are the examples. And I, for one, welcome the idea, and I'm excited to see what they do. I was also curious about each of their lore, and wouldn't you know, each of them have a story, and they're pretty damn interesting too. But like I said, I've got a lot of ground to cover in this video, but if you guys want to learn about the characters, I'd be glad to do an update video explaining them. Aside from them, we also have the dev-exclusive executioners, and they're certainly interesting. Okay, so quick thing, at the time of me recording this, they got rid of some of them, I think. I'm looking at the dev exclusives and it looks like they got rid of Jesus and Bear 5. Really bit of a shame. They still have Evil Sans, the Outcome King, and a newcomer, Lil Jort. Yeah, so I guess that's the thing. The last when I was reading this, I'll go ahead, I'll leave in the take so you guys knew what was gonna happen. But yeah, so just keep that in mind. This is the new updated developer exclusives, unless they still have them and they're just hiding them. We got a lineup of the scariest creatures known to man, those being Evil Sans, Bear 5, Jesus Christ, and then the Outcome King. And yes, you heard that right. To counter Sans, we have Evil Sans, Bear 5 for some reason, which, by the way, was a photoshopped blue Freddy Fazbear, and he looks goofy as hell. Keep in mind, most of these will likely be private server exclusives, but it's still funny as hell. The chances of them joining a public lobby and you encountering them are very low, though not impossible. Honestly, Jesus being a dev exclusive killer is hilarious, and he has an instant kill move. I mean, what the hell do you even do against this guy? See what I did there? What the hell? Yeah, okay. I swear, if one of the devs pull up to my private server when I'm playing with viewers, I'm gonna scream. I am not dealing with Evil Sans or Jesus coming after me. Dude, screw the Outcome King. Bear 5 is terrifying. Jokes aside, I'm glad they're having fun with the game and adding their own stuff to make themselves and others laugh. I mean, they need it, because holy hell do people get way too upset about the smallest things. Now we know what to expect. What do we have now? It's time I give an overview of each of the characters and what they do. Starting with the only killer in the game for now, 2011X. For those who are unaware, this isn't 2011X. This is. Think of this version of X as a reboot to the original creepypasta back in 2011, just without all the controversy and weird stuff with JC. It's also arguably better written, but because it's a work in progress, I can't say for sure. But at the same time, it's a very, very, very low bar to set, because the original story, as we know, isn't good. But you've heard that a billion times, so I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, except I will. That was bad. It was bad. But what's his deal in this game? So, in this game's lore, 2011X and Tails are from the same universe. Tails also is not Alan. Survivors are actual Sega characters. How does it work? I have no idea. But here's what it says on the wiki. A likely explanation is that, like in X's days as Lord X, each vessel has the actual character's personality programmed into it as a second occupant, as seen when an unfilled Tails vessel talks to Renee. The original PC port and various text files in the remake have the character address himself as the real deal, despite the vessel shown there being Alan's own. As this element only begins appearing in PC port, it's possible that the Outcome King's presence triggered the programming early, pushing Alan into the back of his vessel's mind, while the real Tails' personality has taken control of said vessel. This would explain how Tails is able to use all of his gadgets effectively. Oh, and each character, including executioners, have different outfits you can buy. You can get coins by playing the game. The current skins for X are Miku-X and Classic-X, emulating how he looks in his classic form, and Miku-X being, yeah, he's a bit of an idol. Take it away, X.
Oh yeah.
So, due to copyright, I wasn't able to put in what I wanted to here. Play as Sans on private servers, and I forgot to mention that.
Don't be fooled. This monster can be terrifying to go against. X has a rage meter, a standard attack, invisibility, a charge, a move called God's Trickery, and what I believe to be his most terrifying feat, Rage Mode. I'll once again be reading off the wiki as to not mess up what I'm saying. X's rage meter will fill when he's stunned, depending on what he's stunned by and how long it lasts. Once it ends, the bar will stop filling. This means, if you're strategic, you can bait out stuns from the survivors to build your meter. If you want to hit people, you have his trusty attack button, which deals 42 to 63 damage. Invisibility can change how you might want to play this character, and this is where his versatility comes in. 2011X will become invisible for a period of time. If he is close enough to a survivor, a numbered button label with their username will appear, corresponding to the player that were closest to him from first to last. If 2011X presses one of the keys corresponding to the number shown, 2011X will teleport to that survivor, albeit with end lag. The ability ends after a duration of time or until 2011X presses E again, revealing himself with no end lag. 2011X cannot jump while this ability is active. God forbid you're playing this with friends because you know your ass is going to be targeted. And also I am too because I play with viewers and they like to mess with me. Though by doing this, you could choose to play more stealthy as well and scare the crap out of any stray survivors who are going away from the group, like me most of the time. And I find this to be a useful ability. His next one is Charge, where he flashes red twice before flying in the direction of the camera. And if he touches a player in this state, he'll grab ya and they are forced to play a minigame of QuickTime events, losing HP over time. You can helplessly beat the crap out of someone, and if they don't know the buttons, this is just an easy kill. New players, like me, will have a hard time with this. It's try your best not to get hit. You can save someone from this move by hitting X, but keep in mind that will likely build his rage meter. Though this next one is fun, and one I was a little confused by at first. God's Trickery reads, 2011X slowly turns invisible before teleporting to a random survivor. For every survivor he teleports to, X will be highlighted in one of 4 colors: orange, blue, black, or distorted. When he is orange, the survivor must be moving or else they'll take damage. When blue or distorted, they must stop, and if black, they have to jump. If he hits a survivor with this ability, despite the end lag, he will invert the survivor's controls. Much like the other move, if you're new to this game, you are going to be very confused because this ability is, well, tricky. Inverting your controls is just evil, especially since he could teleport and try to take advantage of that. You could throw off a lot of people, and as time goes on, people are only going to get better at using this move. It's pretty easy to avoid once you know what color does what, but if you don't, then you just have to get lucky and guess. But his last ability is probably the most terrifying. Once Rage Meter is full, 2011X can press Q at any time to become enraged. And after a short windup, the rage meter becomes visible to every survivor alongside 2011X, but it will begin to drain over time. When it is active, 2011X will attain a red aura as the sky darkens, and he gains a variety of buffs, namely a higher jump, faster run speed, shorter stun time, and more damage. Some of 2011X's abilities will be locked, thankfully, while he is enraged because of one small thing. The round timer stops, and if the exit is open, survivors won't be able to use it to escape for the whole mode. Each survivor has to hide from 2011X, and every 35-ish seconds, the survivors will be highlighted, meaning that they will have to change spots each time. Once the bar depletes, the map and 2011X will return to normal, marking the end of his tantrum. Holy hell, is this terrifying. Not only does his chase theme change, which, by the way, he does have a chase theme and it's pretty good, but you hear it throughout the map. You can't just wait for the tantrum to stop. You have to play his game. This makes X feel like an actual threat, and you have to play it as safe as possible in order to survive. You might have to strategize and use less of your stuns so this ability doesn't happen, and if it does, you better hope he doesn't find you. A cool detail I found is that he has a choking theme for his ability and a different chase theme for the last survivor, adding to the suspense. It's pretty clear why this game was in development for so long. The UI looks incredible, and it feels like everything is pretty balanced. Sure, 2011X is annoying to deal with, but I think that's the point of the game. He always rigs things against you, but I will say it doesn't feel unfair. Some of the survivors are really good. To top it all off, 2011X has a sick windscreen animation that plays should you beat the survivors. Small details are also scattered throughout the game, like specific character interactions. He even has an interaction for Sonic, saying, "You were my idol once. It's a shame you didn't live up to what you boasted yourself," and plenty more. The game even has emotes for killers and survivors, and the 2011X one is currently a Mariah Carey dance. Yeah, okay, this is peak. And for now, that's about it for the killer. In terms of how fun he is to play, I would say very. His movement feels right. He's threatening, and you can strategize how you want to play him. The devs really cooked with this, and I couldn't be more impressed. But what about the survivors? Are they fun to play? Yes, a lot, actually. They have their own cosmetics, music, emotes. This game is so good! They even have their own solo themes when it's you and the executioner alone. I have my favorites, but we'll get to that. Let's discuss their abilities and what they do, starting with Tails. Tails is a support and backlines type of character. He has a passive ability called Animal Sense. Whenever an executioner comes within 45 studs of Tails, they will be highlighted to him. This even applies to hiding abilities, so 2011X can't hide from Tails. I mean, not that he needs to, really. The devs also consider Tails' intelligence, as he can help Metal Sonic's self-repair ability. While enemies before, they work together to survive, and that, to me, is awesome. Tails has his usual glide ability. Holding the button down makes you go higher, but drains your bar faster. It's good for creating distance from the EXE, so use it wisely. He also has his trusty arm cannon. It takes about 3 seconds to charge before firing a long beam that lasts 4 seconds. And if the executioner gets even slightly grazed, they are stunned for 5 seconds. Tails can even increase the stun time and push them back by holding the beam on them. This is incredibly useful, but also can be bad if you're playing against 2011X, so it's best to try and use it only when needed. All in all, a pretty fun character, and one I think is good for beginners. Oh, I'll also be ranking their solo themes out of 10, and Tails's is an 8. I'm not sure if it's copyrighted or if I'm allowed to play them, but just know all of them are good in my opinion. So, let's move on to the next character, Knuckles. Are you tired of the pesky EXE hitting you? Do you want to fight on the front lines? Well, Knuckles is the pick for you. Knuckles has a glide, 2 passive abilities, punch and counter. Whenever Knuckles jumps into a wall, he will cling, and via jumping off, assuming the wall is high enough, he will begin to glide. Similar to Tails, he will begin to descend, albeit much quicker. Unlike Tails, however, he moves extremely fast and has no energy bar. Unstoppable is Knuckles' second passive, which makes it so stunts bypass the executioner's iframes. Burning Fury is Knuckles' third passive, making it so all of his stunts inflict the burning effect on the executioner. When burned, speed is significantly reduced until the fire burns out. That's right, not only does Knuckles get his iconic glide, but its passives make it to where he gets slowed down the EXE. Punch actually has a separate effect as well, making him a very good character for stunning. Knuckles will automatically begin walking while charging up an attack and flashing red. When the user lets go of E, Knuckles will lunge forward extremely fast, and if the executioner comes into contact with him, they will be stunned for 3 seconds. 9 to 10 seconds when fully charged. If Knuckles uses the ability midair, it will instead slam down. Phase 2 punch stuns Executioner for 5 seconds. Phase 3 puts Knuckles' fist on fire and puts Executioner on fire as well, while stunning them for 6 seconds. And if they try to hit you back, he has a counter. Knuckles stops in place and goes into a combative stance for 3 seconds. If an Executioner happens to hit him during this period, they will be stunned for 3 seconds and knocked back, while Knuckles can run away with no penalty. It is important to note that if you use this right after charging up punch, counter will also get charged, and will instead stun for 5 seconds just like punch. While a bit tricky against the current EXE, this guy ideally wants to help get the EXE off people's back and keep them stunned or slowed down. If you want to put up a fight and go down swinging while having some mobility, this is your character. Also, his solo theme is called Feel the Fury, and I rate it 8 out of 10. This theme goes hard and I feel like represents the character perfectly. Alright, the next character has my favorite solo theme and may take some studying to play. Amy. Daunting her Sonic CD look, Amy has a toolkit that also matches the game she comes from. If you recall, in Sonic CD, she reads tarot cards. So the devs of this game took it and ran with it. They combined this with her hammer, but the tarot cards are her passive. Okay, I'm going to break down what each of the cards do so you can refer to this video if you are confused. The world. All survivors as well as executioners are highlighted to Amy, allowing her to see them through walls. Additionally, this card decreases her speed by 2. The Fool increases Amy's speed by 1.5. However, the Executioner receives significantly less stun time for hammer and hammer throw. Strength. Amy receives both 10% more damage from outside sources, as well as speed reduction of 3 studs. In exchange, the stun time from hitting an executioner with hammer and hammer throw is increased by 2 seconds. The Emperor provides Amy a bonus to speed by 2 and 15% damage resistance from outside sources. The Sun. Survivors below 75% within a short radius around Amy, including herself, will regenerate their health over time, but progressively become more blind the longer they heal, excluding Amy herself. About 1 HP every 2 seconds. The actual increase per game tick is in decimals. The Moon significantly reduces Amy's visibility through close environmental fog. In return, any survivors around her will receive a random modified to their speed and damage resistance to a plus 1.5 minus 1.5 studs of speed effect, and a 15% bonus or a 15% decrease damage resistance effect, respectively. I will sound like a broken record saying how cool this is, but damn it, there's so much that went into this game. These tarot cards even have art to match the Sonic character that would go with it, and having this makes Amy a very unique character to play. She also has her hammer swing, where she can stun the executioner for 3 seconds, and if it's used midair, Amy will bounce forward hitting the ground. Her hammer throw will stun the EXE for 3 seconds, and if you run near it, it'll come back to you. If she doesn't, it'll teleport to her. This is awesome because I would likely find a way to throw my hammer off the map, and having this makes it to where, I won't do that. Her last ability is Reroll. The cards mentioned early can be gambled away. You start with 2 cards, and you can re-roll them for something else. The cooldown is 15 seconds, though, so gamblers, you'll have to wait a little. That's it for her abilities, but my favorite thing about Amy is, as mentioned before, her song, Damsel in Distress. This song has so much meaning to it. It depicts sadness and desperation, but also some parts show her will to keep fighting, despite knowing that she's probably going to lose. The song is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. It's so good. I also like that Amy has drawbacks to her abilities, so she's not too overpowered. So for anybody who likes to gamble, this is definitely your character. Alright, let's move on to the next survivor. The evil genius himself. Okay, I know I did that recently, but they included that in his theme, so it was needed. Eggman is a survivalist, which fits him best because he's not made to help others. Unless it's Metal Sonic. If Metal Sonic is nearby, using his self-repair ability, he will get healed faster if Eggman is nearby. Again, I like that you could support each other in this game, but that's the only supporting Eggman does. He has a double jump that has a cooldown, so you can't spam it, a whole 3 seconds. He has his jetpack that gives him a speed boost, but doesn't have iframes, so you have to be careful. While it doesn't sound like much, you pretty much run faster than a lot of the cast in this, and it's kind of funny to see. You can also control the momentum where you're going, making for quick escapes. But should you run out of that, you have your trusty energy shield. It lasts for 3 seconds, protects Eggman from any type of damage, but will break on contact if hit. Though it does stun the executioner. Play Eggman if you want to run off on your own, or if you know someone who plays Metal Sonic. Eggman's theme gets an 8 out of 10, and I would be surprised if any of these drop below an 8, because man, the OST is really good. Up next is Cream. Now, Cream is pretty easy to grasp. But like most other games, she's a healer. With a twist, however. Cream's passive is to spawn in with Cheese, which gives her healing 2 times the power it had. However, Cheese can die and you can lose this buff. You'll also make Cream sad, and you don't want that. Much like Knuckles and Tails, she has a glide ability where she uses her ears to glide across the map pretty fast. Her heal ability locks her in place, but she can heal for 7 seconds and cancel at any time. Anyone in her radius will heal 10, and Cream gets a bonus 5 health. You gotta be careful healing as it can be risky, but if you need to get out of a bind, look no further than her dash ability. Want to go fast, but you want to heal? This is your character. Fun fact, if you run into the executioner while her dash ability is active, you'll take damage, but you get a 4-second speed boost. And you can hit your teammates to knock them back twice as far. I just like the idea of Cream the Rabbit just fucking drop kicking someone. I just think that's pretty funny. Her theme is Time Waltz, and I'll give it an 8 out of 10. And with that, only 2 survivors remaining. You again? Yeah, this guy is an annoying pest, but that makes him quite good. He has 3 passives and 2 active abilities. If Metal Sonic dies, he'll explode and stun the EXE for 5 seconds. And if you're low on health and use Destructive Charge, you'll sacrifice yourself and explode. He has Proximity Warning, which basically makes Metal Sonic beep like a car when the EXE is nearby. And if he's low on health, you could hear a sort of error noise. His last ability is probably his most broken passive. He takes 50% less damage always, making him the tank of the cast. But what was that Destructive Charge? Metal Sonic charges up for about 3 seconds, flashing red with each second. On the final flash, he will charge forward much quicker than the Executioner and gain iframes but reduce his turn speed. If he hits an Executioner, he will grab them and take them with him on his path. And if he hits a wall while he has an Executioner, he beats him and stuns them for about 3 seconds, at the cost of dealing 45 damage to himself. If he hits a wall without an Executioner, he will be stunned. Destructive Charge can be cancelled if Metal Sonic is hit during the wind-up. However, he will take less damage and gain a speed boost. And another pesky but risky ability is his self-repair. Metal Sonic stops in place and heals 7 HP every 2 seconds. This duration can heal up to 70 HP in 1 session at a maximum and cannot be cancelled, but will automatically stop if Metal Sonic is hit or his current HP goes over 150. And you guys already know, Eggman and Tails can make this process faster. Though this may seem like a broken ability, combined with his reduced damage, he only gets 1 life, meaning that he can't be revived if he goes down, so you have to use a mix of strategy in order to keep him alive and support your team. It's best to run him with Tails or Eggman, and speaking of, it's said that he self-destructed to try and protect Eggman, but they ended up in Outcome Memories. Details are still being worked out, but I'll be doing an entire lore video on it when it's fully released. His theme, Dead or Alive, gets a 7 out of 10. It's not bad, but didn't click with me like the others did. It's still really good though. And so is this character. It's well balanced and I can kind of respect him. Still a pest, but it is respectable. I don't think it's broken. The last character, or the one I'm choosing to cover last, is my main Sonic. In most games, Sonic isn't really included, but in this case, he is. And man, is he fun to play. Alright, so Sonic's passives are Dodge Meter, Unstoppable, and Guilt. Dodge Meter gives Sonic 50 extra HP every time he is hit, and the Dodge Meter isn't at 0. It will absorb the damage. The HP can be replenished by hitting Drop Dash. Unstoppable is Sonic's other passive, allowing him to bypass the Executioner's iframes. And his last ability is pretty interesting. They turned a realistic emotion trait of Sonic into an ability that is a debuff, Guilt. This only activates when Sonic is the last one surviving. Sonic will take 15% more damage. This goes to show you that the people who made this game really know Sonic, because this is actually very accurate to his character, in my opinion. I fully believe he would have survivor's guilt since he feels like he needs to save everyone. Drop Dash makes him hop into the air and dive back to increase his speed. If he hits an Executioner 3 times in a row in this form, he can stun the EXE for 5 seconds. And my favorite ability, Super Peel Out, makes you run really fast. Whee! For 7 seconds, you can speed through the map, and you can even carry 1 person. Which makes sense because, again, he likes to save people. He doesn't get iframes during this and can't pick up Metal Sonic or Eggman. Pretty neat. He's also the fastest survivor because, I mean, yeah. And if you're really feeling funny, you could pick them up and place them in front of the EXE and then bail. But you wouldn't do that, right, viewer? You wouldn't do that, right? Sonic's solo theme is called Break Free, and it's my second favorite in the game. Still a 10 out of 10. And that's all the survivors. I didn't even cover the billions of cosmetics and emotes because, well, this video is long enough, and I'll leave it to you guys to look through them. This game is a love letter to not only the EXE community, but to the Sonic community as well. I dare say, this is my favorite current Sonic.EXE game out right now, and maybe my favorite project. Every character feels like the actual character and what they would do, having care and compassion go into each moveset. New things and passive abilities that are balanced, and the game is completely free. The OST is amazing, the art direction and models are incredible, and don't get me started on all the character interactions that are going to be added. Also, there are a ton of fun facts, like always look at your character's icon when 2011X uses God's trickery, as it could show a red cube around your icon signaling the real 2011X teleported to you. This applies to all characters and a lot more. To the team of Outcome Memories, I want to say thank you. It took me quite a lot of time to script this video, and I still probably missed a lot of details and got things wrong, but your hard work won't go unnoticed. And I'm grateful we have this game. So, on behalf of the EXE community, I thank you. You guys should be proud. You gave us an awesome game. And thank you, viewer, for watching. Subscribe, and remember, stay freaky.
So I think one of the biggest complaints that I had for this particular video was that Honey did not actually belong to the IDW comics. But the thing is that Honey does make an appearance in the IDW comics. It's like a very, I'm pretty sure it's like a very small cameo. It was kind of like a weird thing to say though. I will admit that. So I'm just gonna come out. I'll say it. But yeah, another thing is that this game is still being updated. They're still adding new stuff. There are new killers to private servers and stuff like that. And I think people need to chill out a little bit when it comes to like, oh, this game's not doing this or it's not doing this. The game, it's good to have criticism on a game, but Outcome Memories gets this very specific thing where people are nitpicking, or they'll just be like, oh, this is absolutely terrible. When are they going to release this? When are they going to release this? Or I've seen people be like, oh, it's not this game, or it's not living up to the standard. It is a free game on Roblox that you could play. If you do not like it, do not play it. You can criticize it, but why would you do that if you're not being helpful to them? Be like, I don't like this model because of this reason. You can have opinions. Of course you could have opinions. You can go, I just don't really like it. And that's fine. You know, but then you still play it. That's the kind of thing that I'm like, you're like, oh, this game's not doing this or not doing this. Anyways, I'm going to hop on. I'm going to play with my friends. Sadly, they did not add Jesus to the game. They did add Bear 5 though. I'm still holding out for the Jesus update, but you know. Also, another thing, the Outcome King, he's not actually a part of the main thing. Like canon, that's just kind of like a side thing that they do, that Ross came out with, which is one of the developers, and like it might be a shit post. Honestly, that's how it's going to be. It might be a shit post. I like the concept. I don't care if it was, I mean, the name is a little silly. I'll say that. The Outcome King, it's called Outcome Memories. So the Outcome Memories doesn't really match the name. That would be the criticism that I would give. It's like, does it really even make sense anymore? But yeah, no, the Outcome King. But like this entity pulling everyone together and like having a reason, maybe having like some sort of deal with them would be cool. Kind of like a D&D or a DVD kind of thing. But yes, okay, guys. I have another game for you. One that was very fun for me to make a video on, which, it was a pretty irritating game at the time. I had no idea what else I was in store for. This is Nightmare Beginning. I'm going to say that there are some things that I say about the Nightmare universe I feel like I'm a little too harsh about. I've had some things to think about, and I'm like, I can still appreciate something that is good and separate the work from the artist. So I just want to say I appreciate what Nightmare Universe has done for the community and what it has done and what it has inspired. I think I've recently been enlightened on that because, I'm a part of NU Prime, which is kind of respecting its legacy while also creating something new without the controversial choices. That's a whole nother can of worms, but I just wanted to say that real quick. I appreciate what NU has done. It definitely has inspired a lot of people. You wouldn't have a lot of things today, I don't think, despite what anyone says. And nobody can really, take away from that. So at its core, people still like the Nightmare universe. They're going to keep liking the Nightmare universe. And with NU Prime, it looks like there could be a brighter future and a more positive outcome to make out of this. You see what I did there? Outcome? All right. This is Sonic.EXE Nightmare Beginning, or my personal nightmare. Oftentimes, Sonic.EXE games can be chalked up to a walking simulator, each character having a brutal death sequence in Sonic.EXE confronting you, the player, directly. This has been repeated throughout time, and though there are many exceptions, there was a pivotal point where people tried to do something unique. Introducing Nightmare Beginning. Chances are you may have forgot about this game, or maybe you've held it tight to your chest. Regardless, this game set up for a lot of other EXE games and inspired a lot of different creations. Spirits of Hell, Sonic.EYX, and more were likely a catalyst to this game's influence. Sure, Nightmare Beginnings may have its issues, but it inspired a lot of other games and became well known in the EXE fanbase. The Nightmare universe consists of multiple games, and each of those games have multiple endings, choices that actually affect the outcome of your character. An in-universe story that tries something new and attempts to give Sonic.EXE an extensive backstory and lore. How well does it do this, you may be asking? Well, let's just say those problems I mentioned earlier may be a bigger deal than I let on. We'll get into that, trust me. Before jumping into Nightmare Beginning, we first have to discuss this game's history and, more importantly, explain who Sonic.EXE is in this universe. More specifically, who Exidior is. Exidior? Exidior? I'm gonna guess EX, because it has EXE in the name. We'll just say Exidior. How about that? Exidior? You guys didn't think that I would have a video without explaining who an EXE is, did you? I mean, I might in the future, but I mean, not in this case. Without further ado, let's figure out just who this demonic entity is. Taken directly from the wiki, Exidior is described as follows. Exidior was originally one of the highest, which were cosmic entities which created life on Mobius. A regular occurrence for the highest would be erasing Mobius and recreating it. The first time Exidior erased Mobius, he felt absolutely nothing, but over time with each eraser, Exidior became more and more attached to Mobius and its inhabitants, but tried to hide it. In an attempt to stop the endless series of erasures, Exidior disguised himself as a demon of sharpness and went down to Mobius to learn about its inhabitants and build an army of demons. Along the way, he befriended a demon of waves named Nigigan. We're just gonna say Nig. However, Exidior later started a war with the highest after being exposed and was backed up by Sark and Provision, as well as Nig. Exidior lost the war and was stripped of his powers and banished to Hell, turning him to a demon of sharpness. 4,000 years later, Exidior would break out of his prison due to outbursts from the Master Emerald. He escaped, being pursued by the guards of Hell, and heading to Mobius, he found Sonic the Hedgehog and copied his appearance to hide his true body. Exidior tried to possess Sonic but was unable to because it was protected by Creep. Creep told Exidior that Sonic's strong will made it difficult for him to be possessed. However, if he had three main parts of determination destroyed, Tails, Knuckles, and Eggman, it would leave him powerless and possessible. Exidior agreed to this choice and temporarily possessed Sonic's body. This is a setup to the game many of you know and love. Kind of. You see, the lore of this character was astrally changed, and there's going to be a remake of the game of Nightmare Beginnings. In the game Nightmare Beginnings, I believe that Exidior wants to destroy the world / rule over it. If you didn't know this lore prior, you may be confused as to some of the names that were mentioned when describing the lore. For now, I wanted to focus the attention on Exidior and the setup to the old game, Nightmare Beginnings. But essentially, to sum up the lore of Exidior, he wanted to stop the erasures of Mobius, so he went down to create an army of demons to rebel against the highest. Failed, broke out of prison, found Sonic, took over his body, tried to possess it, only temporarily has access to it, and in the game is trying to destroy Sonic so he can keep his body. So now that we fully understand the setup to Nightmare Beginnings, let's get into the bulk of this video and talk about the game that inspired so many after it and made me lose my mind. Starting up the game, which actually takes a while for it to start. I know it's a bit of an old game and the first one in the series, but you'll see why this is kind of relevant earlier. Now, I will say, I think that after I extracted it a different way,
it started to load a little faster, but then it went back to being slow again, so it may have been something on my side, but this was still annoying when I was playing it, but I digress. Right off the bat, you'll notice something different to other EXE games. You actually get to choose your character in any order, as opposed to the usual, where you have to pick Tails and watch him walk for a bit before our bloody-eyed friend comes by and shows him that isn't okay. For the sake of this video, I might as well start off with Tails, and his segment can get sort of ridiculous. We see Tails flying the tornado, and wouldn't you know it, there's dialogue. Tails is wondering why Sonic called him back to Green Hill Zone. And I can't help but to wonder that too. But as we all know, this actually isn't Green Hill Zone, it's just Hill Zone, my favorite place. We start off with the usual, Tails walking. I know it just looks like a Sonic.EXE game, and it is, but it does pick up in time, all right? So just bear with me. We see the usual deal of dead animals and the music suddenly shifting. Like, it's kind of funny because you're just kind of walking and then it immediately cuts the first dead animal you see. Reaching the end of the level, well, there's a strange flower that stops you from walking forward. If you turn around, however, we see our good old pal Sonic running by. He tells us that he told us to stay by the tornado and that there's a killer on the loose. He then says to meet him back in the tornado. I'm just a little confused here, Sonic. Did you run this way to tell me that just to meet me back at the tornado? I mean, you couldn't tell me like what's so urgent here. Why did you need me to run back to you know what? Anyway, running back, we're hit with boom! Jump scare. I mean, I was kind of expecting it, and it wasn't really a jump scare. He just said come out to play. But regardless, we're taken to Hide and Seek Act 1, which isn't really hide and seek. EXE games love to do this. Despite what just happened, Tails goes up to Sonic. He tells us that he's tired and we should go ahead. So without a second thought, we start going full speed ahead. Tails then stops and realizes, wait a minute, Sonic doesn't get tired. Wow, Tails, really? Then the funniest thing happens, like actually. Sonic nukes the whole area, and I'm not exaggerating, a literal nuke sound plays. Bro, this will never not be funny. This had to have been funny intentionally, I'm convinced. After bombing the place and Tails somehow being perfectly fine, we're taken to a chase sequence in a place we all know too well. Sonic.EXE PNGs flash on the screen like days of old, and we fall into a hole. It's hide and seek act 2 time, and it's god-awful. Now, there is a small tutorial here on what you can do. However, I didn't realize this my first time and went to the right, completely lost on what I'm supposed to do. When you first fall, you can walk to the left and a small cutscene will play. Sonic.EXE will jump into the gray ring, it turns red, then blue. The player is supposed to look at this and go, oh, so if he jumps in the ring, it turns red, then I jump in after him when it's blue. Wow, that is easy to understand. You know, at this point, you have no idea what that does. I'm just left guessing what the hell it does and why I should do it, but I digress. In this segment, you find our bloody-eyed friend relaxing around the place. He doesn't activate until you go near him and you go off screen, and he chases you when you run away. If you go too slow, he'll kind of float behind you for a certain amount of time before ripping off your tails. So wait, does that just make him Miles now? He can't be Tails because, yeah, bad joke. Sorry, Tails fans. Wait, I mean Miles fans. If this happens, you move slower and, wouldn't you know, you can't fly. You can actually outrun him and make it to where he detaches himself from you. But sometimes he can outright get stuck in certain places so he can't chase you. Which sounds great until I tell you that you need him to go into the rings before you do. The rings will stay gray until you're being chased. The rings will teleport you to a different place while they're gray, sometimes right in front of Exedial, and sometimes to an extra life. It's not random, and they are mapped out, so it'll be up to you to remember which ring is where and what it does. You aren't supposed to jump into the ring when it's red, but if you do, we're taken to a race sequence between Sonic.EXE and Tails. Reaching the end, regardless on if you win or lose, it's the same outcome but with different animations. The platforming here honestly is a little annoying, but I like being able to run this fast, and playing as Sonic.EXE was kind of fun, even if it was for a short time. If you win the race, this happens, and if you lose the race, this happens. So, you know, you just gotta win the race, just win the race, just win the race. So either way, Tails dies. We'll come back to this segment later, but for now, Tails is dead. That leaves Knuckles next on the chopping block. This segment is probably the hardest out of the three of them for reasons I'll get into later. But trying to get Knuckles killed is actually quite easy. Knuckles questions the red mist and wonders if it's poison. But being as Sonic invited him, disregards this idea and gets the notion this was a trap set up by Eggman. But after not too long and some bloodstains on the floor, we see our good buddy grab Knuckles and holy crap, Knuckles just punches him! This, however, only makes Sonic.EXE mad and begins the section. You have to hit the wall and these little phantoms to progress. You have two attack buttons, one to punch and one to do a spin. If you punch, it takes longer to break something but has less of a cooldown. If you spin, you have a high cooldown but instantly breaks walls, gets sent forward quite a bit, and it's pretty useful. However, Exedial is quite fast and can catch you easy. Not too fast, but fast enough to where you're lacking, it seems like there's really no escape. No extra lives can help you here, and once he catches you, well, it's game over. With Knuckles down, that only leaves Eggman. Eggman's segment is probably the easiest. No one really chasing you, the camera is zoomed out so you actually have a bit of reaction time. It feels fair and is honestly my favorite part in this game. But I want to show you guys what happens when everyone dies, so we jump into the light as Eggman and we're met with an unfortunate fate. So remember those multiple endings I mentioned earlier? Well, if everyone dies and you don't have a single person survive, you get the classic Sonic.EXE end screen or the worst ending. Like other EXE games, pressing enter or any button shows you a different screen, much like how you couldn't close out of the classic game. So I guess don't be a skill issue. This screen also pops up. As I was recording this, I realized that there was another segment. See, this happens and then it leads to a zone. This is where the true bad ending is had. And it leads to a place called, well, I don't know if I can say this on YouTube, but just know that Sonic isn't very happy here. We see a depressed Sonic walk through and see his failures. Now, some people have speculated that Exedior actually made this place to taunt Sonic and basically said, here, I'll pave the way and you can give up. And this is the true worst ending in this game.
I win the race! I win the race! I win the race! I don't care what I did! I won the race, and now I'm happy!
Now that we've figured out how to die, let's delve into how to survive to the best of our ability, going back to Tails. Okay, so playing this portion over and over again can get tedious. You do get the hang of it during Hide and Seek Act 2, but it took me a while to realize that Exedial will jump into a ring without you doing so if you hang around. This segment can be difficult because of the controls as well. You tend to move really quickly, and I feel like it's not super responsive whenever I jump or try to move back, resulting in me going too far and entering the red ring. And you don't want to do that. I think because, I don't know if this was a bug, but there was one time where I had to jump in the blue ring like a few times as opposed to one. Regardless, this new zone is pretty important for lore. If you just want Tails to survive, there's a ring you can jump into. However, if you search around, there's a secret area you can enter with a little thing that looks like it's holding Sonic hostage. This is where I believe people get a little interested in the game, as it started to reveal its lore if you were curious enough and patient. We see a cutscene of Exedio trying to take over Sonic's body, but his Dark Guardian says his will is too strong, and that if Exedio kills his friends, his spirit would weaken. Which, by the way, what a terrible guardian! Creep, what the hell? You're supposed to protect Sonic's mind, not give the enemy tips. He says he won't do the work himself, but basically he just did? Anyway, Exedio is able to temporarily take over Sonic's body due to Creep's terrible protection, and that's the takeaway here. For the rest of Tails' segment, you have to find a red ring, jump in, and Tails to survive. Now, this game can be a little unforgiving, but at the same time, as long as you don't jump in the red ring, you get 2 chances since you don't die right away when your tails are taken off your body. If you map it out correctly, you can get Exedio to go into it. I won't even say this is the worst part of the game, because once I got the hang of it, it wasn't that much of a problem anymore. Did I still make mistakes? Absolutely. Moving on to what was actually pretty difficult and I had to cheat for. As mentioned previously, Knuckles is difficult because Exedio is the most threatening here. He follows behind you relatively fast, and there's a lot of stuff to block your path. There are these objects you have to break, and the phantoms are pretty annoying to get by. Using your spin is useful, but has major end lag if you use it in the wrong place. Also, finding the secret path can be tricky since it kinda blends in, at least until you realize the way you have to go has blood on it. By destroying this path, you have to continue forward and don't go too far because Knuckles can't jump, and if you miss the hidden block you're supposed to break, you just have to wait and die. Because even when you find the first secret block, you gotta find another one, and keep in mind, every time you lose, assuming you don't want to use the debug menu, you have to play through the tail section again. Watching the cutscene, the slow walking, so yeah, don't want to do that. Assuming you find the hidden path, you're met with another ring you can enter. And that's Knuckles' save. This segment can be difficult because while you have to find one secret exit, if you miss the second secret exit, like I said, you'll just have to wait and die. Also, if you use your spin too late into it, you'll go too far and you won't be able to stop yourself, and you'll end up missing the secret that you needed to break, and then you just have to wait to die. So in a sense, this is a little unforgiving, but we end up saving Knuckles because I had to cheat, which, by the way, if you type Sega 4 times on the startup where it says Sega, which I failed to do a few times, it'll make it to where you can activate the debug menu by pressing U, and you can move around freely. You might be asking yourself, what's the point of playing this game if you have to cheat? And my answer to you is, try playing this game 15 times, starting back at the beginning because you missed a secret so many times, and also had to play through and get every single ending because you're making a video. So, let's move on to our last victim. All you have to do for Eggman is time your movement. There are times where you can get stuck, but they're easy to avoid. Wait for the lights to be out of view, pass by, and boom. Once you make it to the left, you want to jump over a gap. Here, you can go to the switch and turn the bottom lights off. After falling, you have to take a bit of a detour from the usual way. Find an elevator thing you can go down. Go down this and a few more, and that's all the characters survive. Now, on to what I believe is the most tedious part of this game if you have no idea what you're doing, like I did. There are no save states in this game, and it is very easy to die here. Fatal Fog is one of the final pushes in this game, and no one here can die during this segment. Otherwise, you get the typical ending where Sonic either jumps into a bed of spikes or continues to fight for his lost friends, but we don't get to see that in this game. And in case you were wondering, yes, this does say what you think it does, and yes, it is kind of tragic seeing Sonic jump into a bed of spikes. Exedio has sound cues that will tell you if he's on his way or not. Luckily, he can only come from above and from the left. I believe there's a bug that can stop him from coming from the right, thankfully, because there are times when Excelsior can just appear from above you and come from the left, and you just have to hope your Eggman shield is up long enough or that you have a robot. Really, this segment is just about Eggman. He can block Excelsior and break walls the fastest because his robots don't have end lag if they hit a wall, meaning you get them back as soon as they're destroyed. This does mean that if you send a robot in the other direction, you likely won't get it back in time, and your run just got a lot harder. This segment is also long, and you just have to place down an egg robot and walk slowly behind it. This isn't the hardest part in this game, but it is incredibly tedious and feels like it takes forever. In case you were wondering, Tails can jump and do this weird like fox smack attack or something like that, and is the fastest out of all of them. There's also Knuckles, who can punch Excelsior, who comes from the left. He saved me a few times, but not too many because my egg robots were good. These two are honestly a liability throughout all of this, considering that Excelsior, if he comes from the one direction, only takes Tails and nobody else. And don't forget, if somebody dies here because you got slightly impatient or your pals here decided to be dumb, you have to start over again if you want to get a decent ending. But when you make it to the end, everyone lives, right?
No.
Remember those black rings you have to go back and collect for each character I didn't tell you about? No? Can't believe you didn't read my mind. Well, because you didn't do that, you get what this game calls the average ending for each character. Depending on who walks into the cutscene first is who gets to live. Meaning that if you want every ending in the game, you have to go through and play each character and beat Fatal Fog at least 3 times consistently. However, typing up, down, left, right at the Sonic boot up screen allows you to level select. So I ended up doing that for the endings for the sake of getting footage, because f you, that's why. So yeah, a pretty depressing ending, but honestly I like what they were going for here. Am I a fan of the execution? Not really, but the idea is still something to note. Now, what if you collect all 3 of the black rings and beat Fatal Fog with all 3 characters intact? Keep in mind, to get these black rings, you first have to wait for some sort of event to trigger, except for Eggman, where you just walk to the tip of the stairs, walk back, and you'll get the black coin. For Knuckles, you just have to wait for the bloody segment. When things start to go wrong, then you go back, there's a black ring. And for Tails, it's the same thing where dead animals appear. You walk back, get the black ring. So what happens when you do this and you get all 3 characters and beat Fatal Fog again, by the way? Interestingly enough, the result is why a lot of people like this game, and why people remember it so fondly. We enter Sonic's subconscious mind. Not being met with his friend's deaths, we see him walk to the very end to find a ring. Thusly, a cutscene plays out. Sonic finds his friends making their way through Fatal Fog, Excelsior taunting him before the Master Emerald appears. This Sonic.EXE tries to absorb the Master Emerald's power, turning super, but seeing his friends, Sonic frees himself from his mind control. It's better I show you what a lot of people got excited for back in 17. Flash warning.
You think you can beat me if you all have superpower?
Don't even try.
You want to destroy my friends? First you'll have to get through with me.
Now that Sonic can fight back, it's time for the final showdown. and it's difficult as f. First of all, there are multiple phases to this boss fight, and cutscenes switching between Sonic's mind and Exterior's battle on the outside. Yes, I called him Exterior because f this guy. You have to hit Exedial 15 times, and if you don't, you get the good ending as opposed to the best ending. This boss fight is difficult because the timing on jumps is incredibly strict, and there are also a lot of ways you can die. Did I mention that? Luckily, you do have 3 lives, but the second phase of this fight has to be the hardest. Not only do you have to dodge Exedial and not get hit, but you also have to time your jumps carefully and not miss too many times, since this is the portion where you can get the most hits off. Failing this all 3 times mean you have to go all the way back to Tails and play the game again. And by this point, I was terrified I would have to do that. Not only that, if you die 3 times, will absorb the Master Emerald power and you'll get the worst ending. That's not what it's called, but still, it sucks. The slightest mistake in this boss fight can kill you. The other segment involved a bit of platforming to run to the next stage. Exedial just spin dashes back and forth, occasionally allowing you to hit him. You do some more running, entering his next stage. He does this weird diagonal jump thing all over the screen, and you can't hit him until he does this silly pose. I don't know why he does this, but it is kind of funny. But should you survive this, it is his final stage, and boss fight is over. Just kidding, you think it'd be that easy? You have to run to try and escape. But the slightest mistake and you're dead, and guess what? You're screwed. You don't have the good ending anymore. Good job. Luckily, this portion isn't the most difficult, so if you make it out, you kill Exedial and Sonic lives. You vanquish the demon, and you're left with Sonic and his friends all posing for the camera. Pretty neat. Like I said, if you don't hit 15, Sonic dies, but the others celebrate because the demon is gone. Rip Sonic, but that's what you get for being possessed as a mage. This segment, oh my god. I streamed my run because I thought chat might want to see me suffer or give me pointers. And to be fair, they did. If I didn't know about the debug menu and if I didn't know about the stage select, this video would have took me a lot longer. So if you want to be that person when I inevitably play Spirits of Hell, consider checking out my live stream on my Twitch or YouTube. Anyways, back to the video. This boss fight is stupid hard, and the Fatal Fog before it is even more dumb. I mean, I could probably consistently get through Fatal Fog, but to save each individual character is honestly a hassle, and playing through this game as much as I have makes me want to scream. A few things to note about the boss fight. You can't spin dash when you're in hit stun. He can hit you. You don't have that many iframes. Your reaction time is honestly non-existent. You can hit 2 springs at once, and you can die by spikes if you hit another object. It's just a headache. F this guy. This boss fight. And that, my friends, is Sonic.EXE Nightmare Beginning. And man, putting Nightmare in the name is appropriate. This game definitely had its problems, and honestly can be very tedious and annoying to get through. But this introduced a lot of people to Sonic.EXE and tried to take the basic concept of Sonic.EXE and turn it into something more. It tried new things and introduced a new idea to the character. Multiple endings, giving the character the chance to fight back. These were things people wanted. Some segments of this game has some cool moments, and when Sonic takes back his mind and everyone fights back, this concept is awesome. This game inspired so many other games as well, including Spirits of Hell, like I mentioned before, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with, and it likely wouldn't have existed without this game. For the longest time, this is what people knew Sonic.EXE as, and look back at the game fondly. Seeing content creators play it, seeing the ending and getting hype, it's done a lot for the EXE community. It may have also just introduced people to Sonic overall, starting their obsession with the blue blur. And for that reason, this game is great. Sure, some segments may actually just me being a skill issue, and maybe I'm being a bit harsh on this game. but overall, I like what it did for the EXE community, and it had some unique concepts at the time. This was before Sonic.EXE FNAF, but I'm not done yet, my friends. There is another version of Nightmare Beginnings, and while I don't have the full game, there is a Tales Alpha demo out right now, appropriately named Sonic.EXE Nightmare Beginnings Remake. So let's look into that, shall we? Right off the bat, this game already looks miles better than the other one. Get it? Because his name is Tails Miles? Oh, you clicked off. Fair enough. But really, this game's sprite quality has for sure improved, and it even has a custom stage along with new music to go along with it. There's enemies now. You can spin dash as Tails, and you can jump. You can already jump with Tails before, but now it feels a little better. This already has more gameplay right off the bat, but it's not all good. These crab guys can actually be pretty annoying. But I think part of that is a skill issue on my part. Nah, I take it back. This game is just difficult. There's a bit more plot here. Tails also giving a bit more dialogue. Sonic has more dialogue as well, talking to Tails about the murderer. But it isn't too long before our bloody-eyed meaty comes by and takes us to the next zone. Before moving on, it's worth noting that each time you die, it has a different death animation depending on who you died to. If you die by crabs, you get this cute menu. Sonic's looks rather disappointed here, probably because Exediel didn't get to do anything he planned. You also get 3 lives, which is I am so grateful for, but I mean, it's still a little difficult. But I mean, to be fair, these crabs are pretty powerful. Just use these next time you want to get the job done, and pretty much everyone would die. See, this is what you really need, Exediel. You just need to grab a bunch of army of crabs. You just need a lot of crabs. Get these crab guys, throw them at the highest, and they're pretty much dead. There's also this screen if exterior catches you. A very neat detail. Now back to our nightmare. This time we start to notice a bunch of bombs placed everywhere. So now the sudden explosion makes sense. But this will kill you if you have a slow reaction, like, damn, how fast do you want me to move? Seriously, dude, this section killed me so fast. As soon as the bomb starts, you want to immediately start to charge up your spin dash and hope to God that you make it, because holy hell, the reaction here is insane. I feel like they did that on purpose to try to steal one of your lives, but kind of scummy, okay? Anyway, moving forward, we actually have Sonic accusing us of being a murderer, which, to be fair, Tails does spit some killer bars. This does lead us to our next chase sequence, which is actually pretty hard. I am so surprised. I'm not. And honestly, guys, I couldn't beat it. To be fair, this game had a leaked full version of the game, and this version is for alpha testers. So I can't be too harsh. I know it's a shame I'm not talking about the full game since it's out, but I'd rather wait, and honestly, this video is likely long enough. If you want to play these games for yourself and see what I'm talking about and rage, the link for them will be placed down below. Thank you guys so much for your support. Once we reach 20k subs, I'll be doing a Sonic.EXE iceberg, so let's get there together. For now though, I think I need to rest for a bit.
He's cheating! Look!
I finally done it!
Do you guys remember when the Nightmare universe and Excelsior was just like, I'm evil Sonic.EXE, and like that was pretty much that. Like, it was great. I don't know, it's just crazy to think about. But yeah, no, the game is like awesome. About the Sonic.EXE iceberg, right? So I was told to wait. I was told to wait on the Sonic.EXE iceberg because it might be getting an update. It might, but it's been a while, so there hasn't been an update. And so I might just end up covering it in the near future when I have a little bit less of like big projects, because I still want to do that. I still want to make true to my promises. It is a very big task, but like if I say I want to do something, I want to make sure that I do it. It just might take me a while to do it, but I will. Let's see what else. This game has a lot of iconic moments that I think made a lot of people's childhood, and people forget about that and the inspiration that it might have. My thing is that let's try to take a positive from this and remember the good things while critiquing the bad, but not in a way that gets people doxxed. Okay, I don't think Jace should have got like the amount of hate that's to the point to where he's getting doxxed. Like, nobody should be getting doxxed, especially since he's not even like an actual criminal. Definitely criticize, because there is some criticism to be had. That being said, I got one more game for you guys that we're going to go over. We're about like 3 hours in. If you guys made it this far, just say something. We should come up with a word that's like special. Or wait, no, don't have a timestamp. Okay. And let's say a word that people won't know unless you make it to this specific part of the video. The word is goober. I just came up with that. Again, not scripted. So the word is goober. So if you made it this far, I want you to say goober down in the comments, okay? I feel like this one, I only wanted to include like up to 4 games. So I think that this last one has to be one that I think a lot of people were excited about and that a lot of people liked. Though this is technically going to be bending the rules because I said Sonic.EXE games, but I have to include the rewrite mod. I loved making that video. I loved like Springless was very helpful. Obviously, I'm friends with Snow the Fox, so I was very excited that he was a part of the mod, even before that. And everyone just does an amazing job. And appearing in the credits, oh my god. Anyway, yeah, I feel like I have to share with you guys the Sonic.EXE FNAF rewrite mod. I wouldn't have at least one FNAF mod in here. I should do like a separate video where it's like all like where I talk about FNAF stuff. But without further ado, here is the rewrite video.
Sonic Rewrite. I've talked about this guy quite a bit. You could say that he's contributed heavily to the growth of my YouTube channel and is a character I absolutely adore. From his silly little personality to his unnerving traits, it's no secret that Rewrite has made an impact on not only the Sonic horror community, but the FNAF one as well. But you probably already knew that. Back when Verse Rewrite came out, it was pretty popular with some amazing songs and visuals. But we had no idea what would be cooking. I've already given the lore to Rewrite in another video, of which I'll put in the description or somewhere in the video for you guys to watch. Though there will also be a refresher as to what that is a little later when we are talking about the lore. In this video, we're going to be talking about Verse Sonic Rewrite Round 2. I'll be explaining the lore of the characters while also talking about the mod itself, cool visual details I liked, and little Easter eggs you may have missed. Part of this video will be me gushing about the details they added, along with the visuals, and did I mention they have additional lore? If you haven't played the mod, I really recommend you do so. Link is down in the description. Oh, and the little rewrite talking to you at the beginning to warn of flashing lights is a really cool detail. So, fair warning to those who watch this video and want to play the mod. It has flashing lights. Without further ado, let's talk about and explain Rewrite Round 2. Right from the very start, you can tell this mod is going to be a banger. Smooth animation details that seamlessly transition. Rewrite is looking better than ever. Boyfriend is now fully 3D, and I cannot get over how good this mod looks. This mod has 4 playable songs, 2 of them being legacy versions from the old mod, so you can still enjoy the old versions after you beat the new versions. The story for this so far is Boyfriend has inserted Sonic's game into his PC, and unfortunately for him, he won't be able to stop playing. Though it looks less like he actively wanted to insert it and more like the game inserted itself. Though, I hope Boyfriend is truly passionate about rapping because he'll now be doing it forever. After the disc is inserted, we start our first song, the new and improved Thriller Gen Encore. This song has some added lyrics that really set the tone for this mod. The fluid animation as Boyfriend has found himself in an unfamiliar place in Rewrite rolling in. I'll probably say it a lot, but the animation here is amazing. Sonic here matches what he is saying. It feels like maybe you can trust him. I mean, after all, he wants to play a game, and he says it's gonna be okay, guys. He's very charming here, and I think that's the appeal of the character. Sure, you could already kind of tell that he's evil, but there's something about him saying it's all okay that is sort of convincing to anyone who's unsuspecting. I mean, we know Rewrite is evil, but imagine if you were playing this game for the first time. And after all, he looks like Sonic, a face that you can trust. Plus, this little scared animation he does into the thumbs up is honestly so peak, and what comes after is something I didn't explain in my last video. Just like other Sonic.EXEs, Rewrite has his own set of victims aside from you. In this mod, they're actually given more lore and explanation as to who they are, or rather, it makes it more easily available. But I won't be talking about them until a little later when we dive deeper into the lore. We'll first need to focus on the dynamic between Boyfriend and Rewrite and what's happening here. The transition here is amazing. I can't lie. I thought him doing this little sneak away thing was cute. Also, this little area is a reference to a Rewrite game animation, as dialogue would take place in this area.
Hi, I'm Sonic. Let's play a game.
The effects that follow are only the start of the cool stuff that happens on your desktop. Though, much to our surprise, we find Boyfriend asleep when the song is ending, with something some people may find familiar on the screen. After every song you win, Boyfriend does this funny little celebration dance, and even after he's seen horrific abominations, he still does this. Though that was only a dream. The true nightmare begins now. Trinity is where it all begins, and Boyfriend is sucked into the game as shown in this cute little animation, forced to face multiple versions of Sonic's most horrifying creatures, one after another. Starting with Majin Sonic. There is a lot of cool stuff about this song. For example, there are checkpoints depending on where you are in Trinity. That's right, if you die, you don't have to restart. But to be fair, this mod isn't that hard, but if you did, there are checkpoints. Speaking of when you die, there are multiple voice lines that you can get, all having different voices depending on who you die to and at what point.
The wrath of my rodent rap.
The game over screens can also vary. If you wait a little while, a countdown starts, and if this goes off, it will jump scare you, and you'll have to restart. But as long as you press continue, this isn't a problem. Back to Majin. His part is amazing, switching perspectives rather smoothly. This is a pattern you'll notice, but we'll move on to 2011X. You can also see the words, "Do you want to play with me?" The whole background changes, and I feel like this animation that plays, it's very true to how he would taunt you as you were falling. It all builds up until the fused Majin and Sonic.EXE part, which is done beautifully and has a lot of really impressive visuals. It goes to show you how powerful Rewrite is, how perfectly he can match their mannerisms even when they're meshed together. The new redesign for the two of them makes it much more unsettling, like they're actually merged together and the whole thing is a really weird fever dream. And the dancing boyfriends are really cute until, you know, they aren't, which adds to the whole false sense of security thing. Then, something happened that I wasn't expecting. A reference to a mod close to my heart. Rodent Rap or Sonic Legacy. A different form of X, but one that was a cool inclusion. The Green Hill melody is here, and it's to make you feel like you're safe and to vibe out. It really captures the essence of when Sonic Legacy came out, and Sonic was here to trick you. Rewrite knows exactly what he has to do, and this is honestly just so hype. But, right after this, we get whiplash as everything changes, and we're welcomed by an old friend. With the Cycles motif, Lord X makes his entrance. Putting him on his throne was absolutely genius, and the color patterns look incredible. It really feels like he's an ominous force, and you'll notice that at the top of the window it says Sonic PC port. And this will continue to change as the mod goes on, as I'm sure some of you have noticed, and this mod is filled with little references like that. There's even a different version of Lord.EXE here called Infernal.EXE. The art style changes are meant to reflect on the character, and once again, it's amazing. We even get a game crash emulation just like we did in PC port, before it resets and cuts back to rewrite. I really love how silly he is here now, but don't let it fool you. What's to come is one of the coolest things in any FNAF mod. I actually freaked out when this happened. Not only is it really cool, but there's lore significance here. Boyfriend has died. His soul became a red ring, and Rewrite now has control. But Rewrite knew what was happening at this point, and realized who he was really after: you. He's after your soul. So depending on which form he's in, he's either fully conscious of being in a game or oblivious. The more power determines how self-aware he is. And in the moment, in his true form, known as Kyokai, he's aware. You can even see all of his different forms as the song goes on. He's in his Udagashikai form. I'm gonna butcher these names, so please forgive me. And for a while, you could see Miles, Echidna, and Ivo affecting this form. His Midoretta is his second form with 2 souls, and then back to his Udagashikai, when he has all 3 of them. I believe he obtains this Kyokai form due to taking another soul, or rather, it's just a massive glitch. It's unrecognizable, it's stretched and deformed, and I gotta say, I love this new form. Everything about this is beautiful, and the new Trinity is an absolute banger. There's an animation that plays after you beat Trinity Encore.
You see, when you're soaked under water, all the way down to the bottom, with all this pressure on you, they say it's excruciating pain when you make contact with the air again. It doesn't hurt to invite the water in, might even be a relief for your flesh. And in the end, that's what lasts from it. But fear not. You won't have to worry about this anymore, friend. You're deep down the lake.
And you'll notice that Boyfriend's hands look different. It's to symbolize the loss of identity he once had. Because Boyfriend is now the player, and just like the victims before you, you're stuck in the digital hell with Sonic for the rest of eternity. Though, as this happens, Sonic tells you that letting go of the past isn't easy. When you come up from the waters, it's hard to adjust to everything after being underwater for so long, but in this case, you're going to be drowning forever. Being deep down in the lake just means you spend eternity with Sonic. During the lyrical section for Trinity Encore, it really plays into this lore. This whole lucid paradise was made for you to be stuck in forever. Rewrite is trying to convince you, not that it really mattered, that you'll be staying with him forever. And Springless has told me directly that she put a lot of thought into the lyrics and what they mean. So it plays into the lore of wanting to make you stay forever. Not because it likes you or wants to have this connection with you like Lord.EXE does. Rather, it's egotistical. It's sadistic. It wants you to become a part of it, likely because it can gain more power or even more amusement. It can convince you to join it, to be attached to it. It's here, you deserve eternity. Free will always have a price, and to Rewrite, you shouldn't have free will, which is ironic because this goes against everything that Sonic usually stands for, but he's meant to be deceiving. For here, you'll always be drowning deep at the bottom of a lake. This isn't Boyfriend. This whole thing was all constructed for you. Everything you would expect from an EXE mod is here and more. It's a part of his manipulative nature to try and convince you. And that is the coolest thing about this mod, because Boyfriend was just here to draw you in. And before delving into the lore some more, there's some things I'd like to add. The little jingle that plays before a song is a reference to the hide-and-seek Sonic gameplay on Springless's channel. A lot of current rewrite lore falls there. There's also the old version of both Trinity and Thrilligen for all of you who like the original. They added additional stuff to it, like polished the art style and even added a new cutscene and animation to the old Trinity songs. There's now an intro sequence and a new screen when Rewrite is talking to you directly. It is so cool when this happens, as the pixel art section is a glow up from the original. Seriously, well done, Jasper. Alright, now, onto the lore aspect and the things you may have missed. The gallery here isn't just some PNGs or a menu. It's a fully interactable 3D space. You'll also notice a new character we haven't seen before. And for any Ina fans out there, you will immediately recognize this style. I recently played Ina Dream Barbecue, and this guy gives off those vibes heavily. Oh, speaking of which, this character is my favorite from the game.
You are Ana? You have a job?
It's more of a lifestyle. That's my destiny. What more could I do? God knows the rest.
Ew, I am nice to you, and this is the thanks I get. No, I'm not talking anymore. You can watch me walk around if you wanna.
I wanted to show off the style so you guys can see the similarities and share my favorite character from that game because she's actually pretty funny. Even his face is reminiscent of an Ina character. This, my friends, is Mygo, and he's an old friend of Mr. Sonic, as he calls them. Also, Mygo goes as far back as 2 years ago. This character has been around for a while, and maybe even sooner, before Springless had this character in mind for quite some time. He holds deep respect for the entity, and is always excited about what will happen next. I love they added a lot of really unique twists to this mod, and they nailed the aesthetic perfectly. Aside from that, what's going on with Rewrite? Well, Rewrite's actual name is Sonic, but that might get confusing, and the brand is sort of already set to Rewrite. See, in old lore, he was originally a Sonic.EXE that would be rewritten to different EXEs, and every time he was rewritten, he would gain self-awareness and become more and more egotistical. Hence the name, Sonic.EXE Rewrite. If you're curious as to why all the classic Sonic horror creatures are here, it's because Rewrite knew what the player was expecting from a Sonic.EXE mod, so he shows you something you're familiar with. To clear up any confusion, Rewrite can shapeshift into anything, and to gather interest, he forms himself after those who we're most familiar with. I also think it's because Springless wanted to add cool stuff and reference other EXEs to interest people in the mod and get them hyped. I've got no proof for that, but I honestly think they did a great job regardless. Rewrite can also mimic the other EXE's personalities and mannerisms perfectly. So this isn't actually them, like some other people believe. The rings people are talking about are the 3 victims that Rewrite has, but more on that later. In this little computer here, they added a bunch of additional content, including biographs that describe each character. So I'll read those to you, starting with Rewrite and his many forms. The first form, the Anomaly's Vessel, initially acting similar to Sonic, this entity carries an eccentric and manipulative nature, appearing friendly to the naked eye. Originally manifesting in the 90s via a scam program that would supposedly allow people to communicate with God, Sonic claimed many victims and took various forms to make their souls a part of the anomaly. I also wanted to clear up a misconception that I had about Rewrite. Rewrite isn't necessarily the digital version of God himself. The program ordered by the priest wasn't meant to be an actual digital god, nor a very advanced AI. It was very sloppy and simple, just to give the feeling of being a serious thing when it actually wasn't. It's not actually God. His Kyokai form, which I'll talk about in a second, references the Seraphim. It was even going to have voice lines at some point, but wasn't put into the mod and likely won't be added, but it was going to be a fun thing. And they already had it all written out, as I'll probably show here. One of them was Be Not Afraid, which is a reference to a biblically accurate angel, but it also referenced Thrilligen Encore, as you're familiar with. This is just a description of his base form, though his other forms have different effects to them. The Meteoretta form, for example, occurs when Sonic possesses 2 rings. I've mentioned this before, but this is when they are in between no self-awareness and self-awareness. resulting in instability and inexpressibly feeling gray, as it's described. This is a very unstable state that affects not only Sonic, but their surroundings too. So Sonic himself is glitching out, which explains why this happens during Trinity. Though his next form, Udagashikai, allows him to be fully self-aware of itself. They can bend the anomaly to their will without limits and even affect our dimension. They no longer try mimicking the original Sonic mannerisms and instead take on a more eccentric and confident posture, which reflects on their narcissist and sadistic nature a lot more. You know, I never thought I'd love a narcissist, but I can't help it with this guy. Oh, also, rewrite is cool. His final form, Kyokai, is his true nature. The model is unable to be conceived in 3D, hence why it collapses on itself, giving Sonic a broken mesh appearance. The rings also fuse into his body and he becomes taller. So now, we have a bit of an understanding of what's happening here. Sonic wanted you, and Boyfriend was killed so you could fill his place. I'll go ahead and read the other bios for those of you who are new around here / want an update on the lore of the other EXEs here. Majin is born from an inside joke during the development of Sonic CD. This macabre figure has grown in popularity and has sneakily made his way into the EXE community. He enjoys playing games with other Majins, but is gullible and tends to get easily distracted. His creepy nature and fun as infinite screen has landed him a spot among other EXEs because, oh, well, it's creepy. If you didn't know, the song Trinity represents the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, to fit the I am God quotes from Rewrite. This would be the Holy Spirit, and the next one, the Father, is 2011X. Formed from the void, this entity enjoys playing twisted games with its friends. Taking an interest in Sonic the Hedgehog, it had utilized its own Sonic game in order to lure in new friends until 2011, where its game was dumped into the internet. And that, my friends, is classic Sonic.EXE, and the rodent rap description is also here. X takes on the full appearance of Sonic, using the form to lure in players. Though if you haven't played the mod, I highly recommend you do so. This was a really cool reference, and the person who voices Sonic also makes an appearance in this mod to voice the character. For those curious about the fusion between Sonic.EXE and Majin, it's described as follows. While Sonic rapidly changes forms during the events of Trinity, they quickly turn the Majin and 2011X models into vessels, fusing them together for your amusement. And you know what? I gotta say it. This does not fully amuse me. Go ahead and keep it to yourself next time, Mr. Sonic. Okay? I don't want to see it. Lord X. I've talked about this guy quite a bit, but considering that the devs talked with Joe Doughboy about these specific biographies, they're pretty accurate. A future incarnation of X taking place long before the events of Sonic 2011. Armed with a new level of experience and feedback from its so-called friends, it intends to create an experience that will satisfy not only itself, but them. As long as his friends feed it, it'll continue to create more games until it achieves its goal. And for the less acquainted, we also have his Infernal X form. It's pretty creepy to see it like this, but this is just another form it takes. Fun fact about the Infernal X form, they were considering using Honkish's Welcome Back model from his mod, or simply having Lord X start glitching out and such. And that's it for the EXEs. But now, I want to talk about something I didn't mention before. The vessels. The 3 rings that Sonic wears on its body are the in-game representation of their victims' souls, Miles, Echidna, and Ivo, respectively. The characters serve as vessels for people's souls who died during a playthrough of Sonic's game and are now bound to the anomaly forever. They take on the role of a character with each boot up, progressively losing the memory of who they were in life, until all that's left is the character. Miles is the scared one, being consistently picked on by Sonic and the others. Because, you know, screw Tails, I guess. Poor Tails. Echidna is a thief and a crook who's always trying to come out on top. And Ivo is a twisted alchemist who uses his emotional intelligence to his advantage. Each one of these have a completely new design to their usual counterparts. Though they have their own personalities, they all bow down to Rewrite's whim. The only exception is Mygo. And I would not be surprised if Mygo himself was just Rewrite shapeshifted. I mean, after all, he's incredibly kind and funny at first, but praises Mr. Sonic as if he's God. Not sure about where he comes from, but I know that he emulates the Ina style, and even the music does as well. Speaking of the music, there's a little music player where you could choose to listen to different remixes of songs, along with additional songs not included in the mod. If you press the top left buttons, that's where you can find the remixes. And if you go further, there are voice lines that can happen if you lose. Some are references to the old rewrite lyrics, while others are references to Ina or media revolving the other characters. For example, Lord.EXE makes remarks that make references to Are You Listening and I Miss the Quiet. What's funny is, the voice actor here, Journey, usually sings as Lord.EXE, and that's a song he's done vocals for. The canon Sonic.EXE voice actor is here voicing 2011. Landy, the voice actor for Rodent Rap, is here. Eyeless voices Majin, and so on. The voice actors did an amazing job. And to Springless, Jasper Cat, Sil the Fox, and Deputus Bird, you all did amazing. Oh, and speaking of the credits, look! There I am! I'm in the rewrite mod! But when I saw this the first time, I nearly cried because I thought it was so cool they would include me. They even included some YouTubers I watched, like Luigi Kid and Quite, along with crediting people who own the characters. This mod is filled to the brim with references, amazing animation, music, and pushes the limits of what an FNAF mod can be. It even includes more lore and context to the character, making this one of the best Sonic.EXE experiences I've had. If you haven't played it yet, do so now. I was hyped for this mod for quite a while, and the wait was so worth it. Also, they added Freak Right, and I have no idea how to feel about it. I can't tell if I'm proud of them or disappointed. They even added different animations they did for testing and some older Sonic rewrite concepts before they landed on this design. I absolutely love and adore this mod, and I seriously cannot get enough of the soundtrack. And to me, this is the best Sonic.EXE mod out there right now. That's the lore and little tidbits I could find, such as the individual death screens that can happen and little references played throughout. But I'll leave that for you guys to find. Subscribe, and remember, stay freak right.
And that was all the videos I am going to show you guys. And I hope you guys, if you guys enjoyed this type of like video, let me know down in the comments below. A few comments that I want to make on the FNAF rewrite mod. Obviously, I am so grateful to Springless and to everyone on the team. Jasper Cat, Putis Bird, Snow. I can attribute a lot of my growth and enjoyment of an FNAF mod and excitement to the work that they put into this FNAF mod. Like, I had so much fun. I was so excited. In fact, I actually have a second channel, Dunkachi VA. I'll have it linked in the description, and it has my reaction edited into a video for the rewrite mod. And the reason I bring that up is because you'll see in it that I absolutely yell at the top of my lungs because I was just so excited to see this. And like, when it goes over the screen, like, I knew Snow the Fox was gonna do something like that. Of course, the Putis Bird had like stuff to do and help with that, but for it to go over the screen, like, I just knew I knew it was gonna be in there, but I was still so happy to see it. And also talking about the lore of rewrite and being able to meet Springless, who is a very kind person, someone who was actually very humble about what they did. They were really, like, you know, cooperative, and that was really helpful because, you know, I want to make sure that I can get all the information about rewrite accurate, and for the most part I did. I think there was some stuff that I may have missed. Some people have pointed out that when rewrite gets the fourth ring around him, he's actually basically gaining control over you, the player, and when he goes to lift the gun, like the finger gun, to his head, he's instructing you to do the same. But yeah, still love rewrite. Still was a lot of fun to make. I've enjoyed making all of these videos, and I am honestly so grateful to you guys. And if you really did watch the end of this, I am honestly surprised. But if you did, I thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, subscribe. We're almost to 100K, and I would really appreciate it. Or if you're asleep, then you should probably magically move your hands and hit the subscribe button. which I would be surprised if you are, because again, there was some yelling going on. Thank you guys for watching my absolute beast of a video, and I'll see you guys next time. And remember, stay freaky.